They only got one of those games. All right, welcome to episode 178 of the Zenspath Entertainment Network podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Powers, and joining me this week, once again, we have Steven.
Xbox sucks.
Rachel.
I can't wait to rip Microsoft a new one in this.
And Chase.
G'day.
He's just like, yeah, I'm just, you know what? There's enough going around.
Yep.
All right, so yeah, we're going into an entire run of pretty much nothing but
corporate greed.
Just on and on tonight for a lot of stuff. So there's gonna be a lot of debate on this. But before we get into that, let's jump into what we've been doing. And Chase, we'll start with you. What you been up to, man?
Other than the stuff that we'll talk about in the group chat, I decided to play. I tried to play Modern Warfare 2's campaign last night, and apparently they must have taken that down because you can't actually launch it unless you own the game. So even if you have, even though it says it's available in Game Pass, if you try to launch the MW2 campaign and it's a known issue that nobody has a fix for, it just says disk read error.
For no disc. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
How bizarre.
I mean, It's not wrong. It is a disk read error. There is no disk.
Yep.
It's looking for a disc that cannot be found.
Yeah, it was quite weird. But have you noticed? You noticed though, actually, I thought this was interesting. Basically, what they've done with Black Ops 6 is they've turned Black Ops 6 into a Call of Duty launcher.
Yeah,
So
I've noticed that.
If you want to launch any of your Call of Duty games, you have to do it through basically just the Call of Duty app or Black Ops 6. So it's like, and so I skipped MW2 and decided to give MW3's campaign a try, and I'm actually enjoying it. It's pretty good. Like, I just kind of had I wanted to try, I just kind of had the motor. I'm like, I want to play a shooter, but I don't want to play something that's like completely out there. I just want something where it's like kind of somewhat grounded in realism,
right?
A little bit. And so just started it up, and I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty fun. I'm surprised I didn't try this earlier.
So I'm guessing you're playing the remake versions, not the
yeah, I
original?
guess I should have prefaced that. It's the
Well, I assumed that was the case because you were going through the launcher. I was like, I don't think they're going to go back and have the 360 versions on the launcher.
Yeah. No, this is the rebooted Modern Warfare series. I played the first Modern Warfare reboot, then I skipped 2 and 3, and then now I've just decided to come back and give 3 a shot.
What were you going to say, Rachel?
It is so bizarre, considering how the gaming environment has changed. With things are running through a launcher, just like Black Ops and Call of Duty itself has its own launcher.
That's a part of the big question I'm going to be talking about as well. That's actually just a hint on that one.
Just so bizarre.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, foreshadowing. All right, Steven, what about you? What you been doing?
Well, I decided to boot up ZZZ.
Oh, shocking. That's new.
No way.
I mean, new for today.
Out of character.
They have a lot of content I have to go through, and I'm kind of glad that the voice actors finally came in agreement with the AI, so
Thank
they
God.
could get hired again, because I was getting like really tired of having all these people getting replaced in ZZZ because they have seasons and they need to do these seasons.
Right.
And at first they had no people talking during certain cutscenes, and then they had new voice actors come in. So I was just like, okay, keep who you have now and everything will be good. Because I'm so used to now these new characters because of how they talk, that I was just like, I love what they do. Please don't replace them like you did my previous ones, because that was jaunting and I hated it. Other than that, I continue my quest of buying games that I won't play yet.
Me too.
That is
my
my way with
endeavor.
My way with books.
Let's see, I have Rise of the Triad, a Ludicrous edition,
Yeah,
the
man,
Valis
that way
3
too, Rachel.
collection. So now I have all the Valis games collected.
Nice.
Valis? What is that?
Valis is like a 2D scrolling like a platform game.
Okay.
Penny's Big Breakaway, of course.
Oh, yep,
I wanted to
played
play that
demo.
one.
That was fun.
And then Fantasy Life I, which I'll play when I have a whole day to myself.
Yeah, it takes a little while to get. Well, I'll talk about it in a little bit, but I've been really enjoying that.
But yeah, I did the Switch 2 edition update for that. I am looking forward to Shadow Labyrinth because it's going to have a Switch 2 edition free upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to that. That was probably the only good part of that Bandai Namco show that we don't need to talk about ever again. Because that one we didn't cover because that one was this week, and that one was mostly horrible.
I didn't even realize that happened.
It happened
completely,
and that was it.
I heard no news about it.
They had YouTubers and the girl from Game Awards presenting it, and I was just like, all right.
I don't know if if their show was that bad or I'm just not doing my job of keeping up with the news if I missed an entire show.
Other than that, I've been looking at different videos. I have looked up some from a channel called Switch Up, where they take the worst performing games and they test them on the Switch 2. So I'm so happy to announce that what's the game called now? Oh God, what's it called? The game with the storybook.
Oh, yeah. Damn it! Now I'm thinking of
Rachel, help us.
What?
It's the storybook one with the
storybook. You can jump in and out of
Squire.
Plucky Squire.
Plucky Squire. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pleased to announce Plucky Squire runs 99% of the time at a locked 60. So it is game changing, literally, where the game has no more hiccups whatsoever.
I mean, I didn't experience hiccups in the first place when I played it on Switch, so I guess I was lucky.
Some people got it in the 3D, not in the 2D, but when they jumped out of the book and it was 3D, they were like, it
dropped to around 30 FPS. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, my brain just does not notice that. I think it auto fixes it in my head. Much like it ignores the floaters in my eye. So I don't know.
She has NVIDIA AI too. She's just making frames.
But yeah,
I've been making frames my entire life. Frame rate doesn't bother me.
60. It seems like games that run on an older Unreal Engine are the ones that have some issues. Like Deliver Us the Moon had some issues, they said, but kept up with a pretty good 30 frames. They're hoping some of these get future optimization patches where they can kind of fix little things here and there.
Yeah, that channel, I think they've made like 20 videos at this point. Like they've just been milking it, which is fine. It's kind of fun to see what they're doing for those.
That's exactly what I want. Is I want people milking it because I don't have time to go through all mine. So by all means, guys, please tell me which ones take perfect advantage because I will pull those out to play those. But yeah, no, I've been looking up those as well. And
nice.
And yeah, we'll talk more about some of the highs and lows of our group chat.
Can do. All right, Rachel, what about you? What you been doing?
Well, I wasn't on the show last weekend because actually I was in Baby's first D&D campaign. And as you guys might remember me, I've been on several tirades before about my general dislike.
You tirade? What?
I know, shocker. And not just on the show, but like just when we've been talking one-on-one, that I have a general dislike of D&D as a game system because of how rule-laden and crunchy it is, and as an insufferable know-it-all, I get very stressed out when I ask a question and a DM will go, well, you don't need to know that. I'm just the DM does. Like that's my thing. You don't have to worry about that. And I go, how am I supposed to understand how to play this game if I don't know these things? So that has always been my problem, and I could never get past the character creation stage. But with this particular setting, which is called Strixhaven, which is Magic University, plays to already existing like story interests that I have. So I was like, you know what, I'll give it a shot. And I'm playing with two other people who are also brand new to Dungeons and Dragons, and then one kind of veteran player and a relatively veteran GM, or DM in this case. And so far I'm enjoying it. I haven't completely, ran away screaming into the hills, so that's good. But we'll see how it goes, and we play every other Saturday. So of course, there will be some times that I'm not on the show because of that. Sorry, boys. Hopefully the campaign won't last forever.
We'll take it very personally. Don't worry.
Oh, well. but
Last week, half the show was just she just doesn't freaking like us anymore. Like, what the hell, man?
no, I love you guys. You're
Steven
my bros.
cried.
Aw, Steven. But I've kind of got a schedule now with my streaming stuff, so that's cool. I play on Fridays for Fantasy Fridays and Sundays for Mystery Solver Sundays and Mondays for Monster Mondays. So a bit of some theming to that, and I been having so much fun with that. I actually made a Discord channel, and it has 8 members, and I'm very proud of myself. So that's kind of cool. But with that, with like streaming and all that, I've been playing Ni no Kuni 2 from the very beginning. I don't know if you guys remember that game, but it's real cute and real Studio Ghibli. And I also, for Mystery Solver Sundays, I've been playing Blueprints. Have you guys played any of that?
I beat it.
Good.
I haven't played it yet.
I think I'm on like day.
I beat it. I did the metagame, and then I've seen TikToks where I've still seen that I've missed things.
Well, I'm like figuring things out as I go, and I knew that some things were important, like the pictures in the room, but I didn't really know how they were important yet. But then one of my friends who had been watching my stream was like, "Oh yeah, this," and I was like, "Wait, what? This?" And I'm like, now I have a goal for next stream is figuring these things out, and like I have a notebook that I've written things down in that I'm like, I need to remember this later. It seems important.
That's why literally the game tells you by like the second or third room there's a notepad on the, and it's like you should get a notebook in real life. Jot stuff down. And you're like, okay.
It very much harkens to like the old days of mystery and puzzle point and click adventures. It's like, oh, you should write these things down. And I'm like, I'm writing down. Oh my god.
Yeah, write it down. This will be important later. It's like,
kind of feels like this would have been a good DS or 3DS game, because I've got a few of those. You used to be able to write notes and things like pages of notes on the DS itself.
You know, it probably would have, actually.
Just for the general idea, like just.
This probably would have been a perfect Wii U game.
Oh yeah, Wii U. No, what even 3DS, I think, because then you could have the map on the bottom, and see, where rooms like have that menu on the bottom. They could have been really cool. But the people who have been watching have actually. Some of them haven't played games like that before, and they were like, you know what? This is so weird and so interesting that I need to check this out. And then they'll message me and be like, yo, did you see this thing yet? I don't know what it means. And I'm like, I don't know what it means either. Let me find it. So it's really fun. But
well,
also,
if you ever have any questions, let me know.
I will. I'll be like, Steven, help. I don't understand. And then I started playing. Have you guys ever heard of the game Folklore on the PS3?
I love that game because each character plays differently.
I fell asleep playing it because I got so bored. That's what I remember of it. I mean, I still have it on PS3, and mind you, we had a young child at the time, so I may have been exhausted, but I just remember started it, and it was really slow at first, and I fell asleep.
So it's not necessarily boring, but the gameplay itself is very unforgiving, and it can
pretty
be very.
Game.
It's very pretty, yes, but it can be very difficult with the motion control if you don't get it exactly right when you're trying to suck up the soul of the Fae creature that you're getting. And my favorite part is use green items to heal yourself. I have like 10 green items in my inventory that I'm like, oh, I should be able to use this to heal, and I can't, and there's no way to use it, and I'm like, so I'm having to, of course, find like life drops or whatever in the different areas as I'm battling. Dodging is very hard. It's very unforgiving, so much so that I got so angry on stream on Monday that I had to like rage quit the game, and I started playing something else. And I was like, I can't pick this up right now. It's gonna have to go away.
It is an early PS3 game for sure, be it good or bad.
But the story is very good. I like the story a lot. It's very unique. It plays a lot with Irish mythology, and just in general. And I keep making Invisible Man jokes because there's a character that literally looks like the Invisible Man. He's nuts. I love him. But I don't know if I'll pick that back up again. But when I rage quit that game, I started playing Monster Prom, which I know came out ages ago. But basically the entire series went on sale for the Steam Summer Sale. So if you guys want to pick it up, I would. But it is very it is not kid friendly whatsoever. It is can be very raunchy, and it's very funny, and it's just a all around good time. And I started playing that, so I'll probably go through all of those games now on Monster Mondays because it just is a much more palatable, fun experience at the moment. And then in between all that, I've been playing Fantasy Life on my DS, the OG Fantasy Life. It's fun, it's cute, it's a good time sink of things I can do when I don't want to read my book, but I want to play a game, but I don't want to get on my PC and I don't want to play my Switch right now. So that'd be fun. But other than that, I've been reading a lot, which is what I usually do anyway. I'm almost done with 2 of the books out of the 3 or 4 that I'm reading. So
Nice.
but that's it. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so for me, I've been playing a game called Hero of Law that Steven sent to me, and I immediately grabbed the file for Ocarina of Time, did the mod for it, and got the file. This is a game from a group called the Newer Team. And I have to say, quality-wise, this feels like it was a Nintendo and Capcom made game. Like, it is that well done. It is basically taking Ocarina of Time and applying those characters and scenarios to a Phoenix Wright game with some of the best remixed music, which is very clearly Zelda, but very clearly in the style of Phoenix Wright. And you can download the soundtrack. I highly recommend it. It's really good. But you deal with a lot of characters, but basically you've got Link, playing as the main lawyer, and you were trying to defend Malin. You remember her from the farm there, because she's being accused of killing her father, Talon. And of course, it's all bloody and everything going on with that. And you've got different people that you're bringing in to interview and try and get their testimony and cross-examine. And of course, the prosecutor is Ganon. Shocking,
Of course,
he is an ass in the most funny way to everybody. Because of course, as a Gerudo, he's just talking shit to everyone, including the judge. And I actually streamed it. No one watched. I'm kind of not surprised. I haven't streamed. I'm so rare that I stream. Everyone's probably like, well, this has got to be a mistake, and just ignored it. But I played it. It took me about 3.5 hours to get through it.
That's good. I meant to watch and I was awake, but when you
my hardest part is
well, when you posted, the everything tag did not notify me for whatever reason.
Part of my problem with doing that, like I said, I want to be able to stream more on occasion, but I can't keep a set schedule with stuff, just not with my life and everything going on. So I kind of want to do it for fun on occasion. But the hardest part I have is if no one's there to talk to, is trying to keep a conversation going. I'm not the best at that, but whatever. The game is really funny. And I was surprised to find out, like, I was like, okay, cool. The entire first case is there. It's a complete case with little twists and turns, and, you go through and you come back out to talk in between parts of it. You don't do the part of going to like the site and doing investigations. You're just dealing with clues. So it doesn't do that, but it's still, we're talking hours of gameplay for that. And then when I got done with it and went through the credits, there's actually a bonus episode that I have not played yet. Kind of like an epilogue episode. So I don't know how long that is, but I love the fact that they went through the trouble of actually doing that as well. And they planted seeds for other possible crimes. Like, I love what they did with Zelda. I didn't see that coming at all. And I don't want to spoil it if you haven't watched the stream yet, or if you haven't played it yet. It's worth going through, because I made some jokes to myself about the character, and then you find out some events and you went, oh shit, okay. That makes a lot more sense. But I cannot recommend this enough. Like, I played it on let me pull my N64 still in here. I have a little thing called a summer cart that I ordered. This is kind of like an EverDrive, but open source and way cheaper. And I've really enjoyed this, but it also lets me run like 64 disk drive and stuff like that. So when they made the mod, runs. I'm playing it on actual N64 hardware. Like it runs perfectly. So I was doing that. I sent the file to Rachel earlier that was already produced and see if she can play it on an emulator or something. But I just give it a shot. It's great. I wish it was an official thing. Like if anybody makes a cartridge of this, I would be kind of tempted to buy it like with a box and everything because it's just so well
Before
done.
Nintendo takes
I
it down.
mean,
Right,
I
before
mean,
that's
make
why I
your
did it.
own.
I could.
You could,
But, like-
I mean, all you need is box art. I could help you with that.
Yeah. I've got the printer and stuff here too. I have a high quality printer and I could do the heavier stock. Ooh. Yeah, Rachel, we'll talk. I'd put I don't even need the cartridge. I'll just put the box up on the wall. That'd be great. But yeah, as soon as I saw Steven post that, I wasted no time and just went through and did the modification. Like within minutes, he laughed about it. He was like, "Well, okay," because I knew that could happen. It could very well get taken down. I've already downloaded the music. I didn't want to chance it. I'm glad I didn't chance it because it's great. And I will add that to our quiet little Discord music source here soon as well, along with some other stuff. So definitely get on that. It is great. I'm hoping they make more. I would love to see more chapters to this be added in later on, or maybe variations of it. And just to annoy Steven, I hope they do a Majora's Mask one.
They'll probably just corrupt your system.
Oh, screw you.
I
Beyond that, I've been playing a bunch of Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time, or I like to be calling AKA Legends of Crossing, because it, we'll just air quote, borrows the shit out of Breath of the Wild and Animal Crossing in great ways. It's a lot of fun with what they're doing. They are blatant with it in a
Listen,
hilarious
if the
way.
system works, who gives a damn?
Oh, it's great. I'm not knocking it. I'm just kind of laughing, going like, oh yeah, this does kind of work. And it feels like a good extension of the first Fantasy Life that I played a lot of on the 3DS. Jennifer and I really enjoyed it. Steven, when you play this one, you do have to play for a little while before you get to multiplayer. So we can't co-op for like, it was a good couple of hours. Like I stayed up at night taking, and you can probably go through it quicker. I did every job to at least its first basic level, so that I could, as I'm adventuring, switch between everything and not have to worry about, oh man, I'd love to do fishing here, or I need to cook this or something. I can just do it. Also because I'm going to be playing with Jennifer some, and if she needs any job done, I could just do it. So I kind of spent the extra time. So it may not take as long as I initially thought to get to multiplayer.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But if you just like jump into a character and run through it, you could probably do it in an hour or two. It's very handholdy at first, but it has finally.
I do love that they've gone through at least 2 optimization patches already that work on both Switch 1 and Switch 2 to get rid of some blurry stuff, but to also make the Switch 2 edition work even better. It's good to know.
Yeah, I imported my physical copy from PlayAsia just like you did, and I'm happy to say that I had no problem just buying the upgrade from the US store. It didn't even question it, and just everything ran perfectly fine. It even just shows up as the Switch 2 edition when it's in there.
Yeah, if you go to the information, it says the Switch 2 edition. So I'm like, oh, cool. Now I can give it to Switch 1 owners and they can play it.
I might do that with Junior if he wants to mess around with it. I could just send him the code for it, which I think he's been borrowing it from John. So he'll be able to just use that if he borrows my cartridge. But I'm looking forward to some multiplayer in that. It has been a lot of fun just exploring around and its ridiculousness. I've gotten to the Animal Crossing part where I've got my own island, and I'm starting to like change the level of the land and move houses around and build things. And as you find weird characters that have been turned into dressers and watering pots or mine carts, which is stupid. And I love it. I just don't care. So I'm glad to see it is great. I haven't played it on a Switch 1 yet. I'm kind of afraid to even go back and see. I'm just like, I'm already spoiled by Switch 2. I'm just going to keep playing it there. I think the only problem I've had, and I don't know if either of you have had this issue, if you've left a game, you just put your Switch in sleep mode. Have you noticed the battery like just tanks? Kind of.
Did you do the battery fix?
It doesn't seem like it's going off, but like I'll
The what?
I'll come back and like my
'cause
percentage just dropped a
because
lot.
I did the battery fix to reboot the hardware, and it made my 85% turn into a 91%, and that's what it's supposed to stay at when I put it in sleep and I have it docked.
The
So when I
what?
turn it on, it's always 91%. It was 85 before I did the battery fix.
The
Because
the what?
so there's a small glitch in the Switch 2 hardware
Uh-huh.
that some people it's displaying the wrong battery
Percentage?
percentage. So
The only thing I have noticed that I thought is very bizarre for the Switch 2 is the Joy-Con battery life is ass. Like, it's bad. Like,
I haven't had a problem with that. Mine's been lasting a pretty good amount of time.
like it lasts a pretty good amount of time, but one will be like dies, and then the other one is like, I'm still like 60% full, and you're like, what are you doing?
yeah, I guess I haven't used them one over the other. I've always had them both together in the grip.
Well, that's what I do. Like they're in the grip, but one will die, and the other one is like, I'm still like 40, 45%, 50%. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? And it's either one or the other. It's
Yeah, you
very
might have
bizarre.
to ask Nintendo about that because they should be kind of.
Yeah, they should
Especially
keep
if you're
their.
using them at the same time, they should be paired pretty close.
Yeah.
I've noticed like if it's
very
sitting in the
bizarre.
dock and they're both on there, one of them be a little bit lower than the other, and I'll just disconnect and reconnect them real quick, and they charge just fine.
But
Charge
if you
fine.
if
It's
you
just
look at our
one of them-
Discord, Rachel, scroll up on the Nintendo one, and there's the how to do the reboot for the battery mode, and it takes like 30 seconds, and then
Okay.
Okay.
and then
I'll
your
try it
battery
next time I turn
percentage
on my
is set.
Switch 2. I haven't played it in a few days.
A lot of people have said when it gets to like 1%, Switch 2 is like a trooper. It stays on 1% for a while.
That's
People
awesome.
have been testing how good it is. I still haven't charged my Switch 2 Pro controller, so that's awesome.
I finally got the notification last night. Yeah, the controller needs to charge. I went, oh yeah, shit, I need to do that, and plugged it in.
I guess I just need to buy a Pro controller, and I'll save the other
Yeah, because
stuff.
most of those, at least in the older ones, they took out 3DS batteries and put them in the Pro controllers, which that's what made them so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing I found out is if you want to intentionally crash your Switch 2, you go to the amiibo setting and you keep going in and out of it 3 or 4 times and it crashes. Somebody found that out, and
what
it's
a
useless
weird feature.
information.
Yeah, I saw that where someone's like, maybe this is a way to break the system. I'm like, oh god, guys, quit.
It's a good prank you can do on your friends. You can be like, tick, tick, I think I did something and it erased all your data.
Oh man. All right, let's go over to the group chat for our little bit of discussion here with Stephen, Chase, and I, and then just Stephen and Chase.
I will chill here and look pretty, I guess.
You'll hear some fun stories and some sad stories. Okay.
Yes. All right, so first off, the one we've been playing mostly is State of Decay 2. We're still continuing that, which I have actually gone back by myself and been leveling up and doing stuff in the game now that these systems make sense again. And Chase, you'll be happy to know I did take over that car garage, so I now have a much larger base now. So, but I'm going to need to get you guys to come help me because it only moved over the cars that were already in parking spots. So now, like, all the other vehicles I have are still stuck over there, and I can't just drive, hop and skip them over there like you guys did. So we'll see. But multiplayer wise, this has been a game that we've stuck with pretty well. We've been kind of cycling through at least Chase and I's worlds. Stephen, we haven't done yours because you were saying you already had a lot of the stuff. So,
and that's what I thought, but I'm a New Game Plus now, so I do need some help over on my side now.
Okay, so after this, maybe we'll hop into your world for a little bit tonight and kind of work on that. We're just cycling out. It's
when
great.
I'm helping others, my base, when I need to use things, I don't have the same amount of settings in my base, like for different things to be done. So I was like, I need to build those up and then jump in somebody else's world. But I didn't find an ambulance which has more space than I've ever seen in my life. I had to scroll down like twice.
What?
I was like, this ambulance is amazing.
How many people can it seat? Is it just 2?
It's just 2, but man, you can fit like almost 20 items in that thing. And I was like, ooh, this ambulance is... I made sure to walk all by myself to get that ambulance.
I marked
it on the map, and I was like, I'm coming back for you.
Oh, Chase, have you been doing anything new in your world?
So I guess I kind of beat the story, so to
Oh
speak.
wow.
There's like, because once you elect a leader, then
Mhm.
you kind of just do like some missions for that specific leader type, because there's like 4 different types of leaders you can elect.
Right.
And so I did those, and then it was like, this is the final mission. If you complete it, then you can either have this leader set as like a legacy character, or you can continue in like a new game plus with the whole community. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
because I also set mine as a legacy character because I have some guy as a legacy character. I'm like, who's he? Oh, he's my previous game.
I need
Yeah.
to look into. I've been watching some videos about it, and like they were talking like when you set somebody as a leader, that unlocks like certain special things you can build. But apparently, you can start to build it, demote them or kick them out, and then start getting somebody else set up to be the leader, and it will continue to build their thing, and you still get to use it. So you can kind of cycle through and get all of them, which seems overpowering, but I'm fine with that because this game can be brutal as shit. So
Yeah, so I kind of started a new game plus, but I didn't like. I started it and then I just kind of left because I was like, I could get caught up in this game for too long. So
Yeah.
I started. So I decided to play something else. Actually, the next thing that we're going to talk about.
Yep. This was from last week as well. After the show, we went through Space Marine 2 Siege Mode and played that for a good little while and got tore up. It just destroyed us the first few rounds.
Yeah, it makes you donate to have a bigger character help you, but usually by the time you've donated enough to have that bigger character help you, the opposition has 2 of those against you.
Yeah, it seems a little unbalanced, which I mean, it's supposed to be. It's Warhammer. It's meant to kill us. But go ahead, Chase.
So we played it together.
Mhm.
Then I played it a couple times where I just joined some randos because I was like, don't have anything else to do. I want to give this more of a try, see if I can get to like some of the later stages. I'm here to report that at one point, segment 1, they have 1 terminus level enemy. At segment 2, you get 2 terminus level enemies. At segment
shit.
3, it's 3 terminus level enemies. And at segment 4, they give you 4 terminus level enemies, but one of them shows up at like wave 3 of 5, and the 3 of them show up at wave 5 of 5.
Oh my god.
I will say that I've got the big guy out. One group I was with, we just donated all of our money to get the big guy because we weren't losing health, and we were actually doing quite well and efficient. And when 3 of the big terminus level enemies come out, we got the big guy out and he cleaned house. So
That's good.
didn't matter. Like the
So
dude's
it's still
built
worth
different.
it. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, the game just like
But you
suddenly
only
gave
get him
you
for 3 minutes.
it
That's
gave us like all these new areas too that we had to learn on the fly. That you're like, was that open there before in the back? No, it wasn't open last time. So
Yeah.
the game does open up its hub for you. So make sure when you download the siege mode that you look around your hub more because there's new areas to look at.
Yeah, it
Because
expanded
the
like a whole
siege mode
back
gives you
room.
new types of unlocks.
And of course, new microtransactions. But this game has still got a lot of stuff in there, so it's fine. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, and it pretty much opened it up now to where, like, if you're a fan of Warhammer 40k, I'd say, like, particularly with Space Marines, if you have, like, a favorite chapter, that chapter's probably in there by now, and they're adding more constantly, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think the key for this is it's not, like, I know there's a lot of DLC. I was kind of joking about that, but, like, it's one of those things where you're never intended to just get all of it. It's like you find the factions that you like, and that's kind of what you get. It just has the option there, you know. It's not like a racing game where you want to try and get every car for whatever reason. Even a lot of those, you don't buy every damn car because you'll be spending so much. So yeah, just keep that in mind when you're looking at it. Like, do your research, find out what you like, and then go with that.
Yep.
So, all right. Stephen and Chase, if you guys want to talk about the next two, because I didn't get to play with y'all on these.
Oh, you don't want.
Yeah, Jeremy,
Okay, I'm gonna start.
Jeremy was like, I can't play this with you unless I spend $50. We were like, no.
I was
don't
gonna
spend
buy it,
50.
and then I saw you guys playing it. I was like, damn, I was gonna join you, good or bad. I still wanted to have some fun.
We saved you money. Just trust me, we saved you money. Okay.
This is gonna sound like a rant because it fucking is. This game is Firebroak, not Firebreak. If you like to control universe, good for you. It's got it. Other than maybe what they say in the background by accident, you'll never get any more enrichment for the control universe for this.
Oh, really?
It will in no way enrich your storylines or your love of the control universe. Stay away from this garbage.
I played this game and I was like, what the fuck is going on in Alan Wake and Control? It's literally because I've never played any of them.
So to give you an idea, okay,
they're both great.
This game loves to give you a rhythm game where you have to press LB and RB in a certain pattern as fast as you can. You have to do that whenever you're using different things to like power up a station or to like open a door. So you're pressing LB and RB. You even have to do it to get ammo, because you're basically just grabbing ammo like you're at a Toys R Us grand opening where they have new figures, and you're just grabbing what you can. And if you just like spam it, then you don't get your grenades. So they do that. They give you a shower which heals you of every effect you get, which I'm going to list it from most impressive to garbage. You can be radioactive, you can be burned, you can be electrocuted, and don't get it wrong, water cures all of that. But lastly, and we'll explain, you can get too covered in post-it notes that you can't see your screen.
That is kind of fitting for Control.
And unless it's cold, and unless it's wet, or unless you're a class that can spray water, that's the only way you're going to be able to see, is you get all the post-its wet and get it off of you. So there's that, but what they don't tell you is that eventually the water pressure goes down and doesn't really heal you at all. So you have like 2 or 3 people showering at the same time, hoping there's water. It's not. So it's like just living with a bunch of college people. We had people join our game that tried to sabotage us, so we had to kick them. That was fun.
Oh, lovely.
We had other people that were actually extremely good at their job.
Yeah, we found somebody towards the end, unfortunately, that was like level 30, so they helped us. This game is 5 levels, and then you're done. It doesn't care what difficulty you put it on. It's still the same. You can still beat it. You can still come back. It borrows heavily from Helldivers, both in how many times you can come back to how many different samples, we're going to call them, that you can get to unlock more of the 30 weapons you can use.
I'm guessing it's probably like artifacts that they have from Control.
No, it's like classified documents from the Federal Bureau of Control, because that's
okay.
You work as, so the setting is that the characters you play, the 3 characters you play, you're basically volunteer maintenance guys for the Federal Bureau of Control. And so like what you do is one person, the character we didn't play has a water cannon, which is really good for putting out fires, because some of the enemies that you see can make fires on the ground and stuff. So you can run around and spray fires and put them out. I had the guy that had a wind-up electrical gun that can be used to charge up generators.
Yeah, and I was the fix-a guy who uses his wrench to literally hit things to fix them.
That's very Team Fortress.
Let's not ignore the fact that when you die to get revived, your other character has to basically smack you on the butt and legs, saying, "Get up, buddy," and then they get up.
Yeah, literally, that's what it literally looks like.
Good game, man. Good game.
Exactly. You just basically you're just smacking that ass to get him back up. It's just like, what the fuck?
So we're
Chase. We now have your
give you a rundown.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the rundown of the one mission that we're like, what are we doing with our lives? That Chase and I were just like, what are we doing?
All I got out of this so far is smacking that ass.
Yep.
So after we did something really cool, which was like to cool down a furnace that was out of control, and was going to like melt everything, I was like, that was cool. And Chase is like, yeah. We get the next mission and it says, destroy post-it notes. destroy 2,000 post-it notes. I'm
There's
like,
literally
"Oh."
post-it notes scattered all over the.
So
they're
Boy.
let
scattered
me
all
ask
over
you
the
guys
place.
this: how familiar are the two of you with Control, the game?
I'm
itself?
not at all.
Okay, Steven, what about you?
Not enough. I played the cloud version on Switch.
Ugh, I'm so sorry. So there is a joke of one of the items of like a room that just keeps filling with post-it notes. It just keeps covering the walls and it's like spreading up because there's different items to do weird things. And I think they're taking that kind of joke and running with it.
Oh no, they didn't just run with it. They got in a fucking rocket car and went to Mars. So anyway, first you destroy 2,000 post-it notes, and it's like if you had a water cannon, it would be faster because they'd be wet.
Right.
But instead, we're blasting them with shotguns and grenades and stuff to blow them up.
Oh, God.
Eventually, they start covering people and bringing those people to life. So then you're fighting these walking post-it clumps. And as that's happening, the next mission that we got to was destroy more post-it notes. Now destroy 20,000. So we destroyed those, and then more people were getting covered in post-it notes and becoming post-it zombies. And then then the next mission was destroy even more post-it notes, and we had to destroy 300,000 of them. And they were freaking everywhere, covering everything. They don't hurt you, but they're just everywhere.
Right.
But then the game decides, oh, you want to see how far we're going to take this? You then have to fight this giant thing that's out of Fantastic Four, like the Mole Man, whatever. This huge golem made out of post-it notes. And the only way to defeat it is first one person has to get it wet by spraying it with all the sprinklers, and then the other person electrocutes the post-it notes, and then we have to basically shoot its face. And I was like, what are we doing?
So I think the post-it note thing in context of Control, not to this extreme, but like for the first couple takes of it, even, destroying a couple thousand number stuff, is kind of a funny thing in regards to that history. But if it does sound like they've gone way too far with it for a bigger chunk, this should be like a bonus level or something like that.
It should have been like the cow level in Diablo, but instead it was
because it is a joke in Control. Like, yeah, we've got that one room, we just try and lock it in there because it's the post-it notes will go everywhere and like they keep covering.
But then there's one where you're popping all these pimples and cysts on the wall in order to get these radioactive things that will kill you slowly. So I took the job of throwing them all in the container while he pushed it. Until somebody tried to sabotage us. And then we had one where we had to just destroy all this pink foam, and the pink foam could connect to you, and if somebody meleeed you or shot you, you exploded. So that wasn't fun either.
Oh my God.
It was just a mess, but we beat it in like, I don't know, an hour, because it was just 5 levels, and I was just like, all right, this game can fly into the sun now. It sucks.
Let me ask you both this. We'll kind of finish this off with here because I'm kind of curious. Does this have any potential you think they could like update or add to it that could make it worthwhile, or you think this is just dead on arrival?
Dead on arrival.
Okay.
The problem a lot of people had is when they did random game with to just randomly get put in with 3 players.
Right.
It doesn't know how to cycle through all 5. So I can tell you, Chase, that the people I've seen play kept playing hot fix like 6 or 7 times. And they were like, I hate this. And it was just the fact that how you die, how quickly you die, how you come back, how you can run out of resources. It's just not a good system, and it's just so short. There's nothing to kind of enrich you.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't even tell you that there is midway points that you can find that give you a better starting point than having to run through the entire map to get to the end of the level again.
That's one thing about this game I thought was weird, was that there's a lot of things that you just have to find out because the game doesn't actually tell you how they work. Like, for instance,
Control does that, but it doesn't seem like this would be the type of game you'd want to fucking do that in.
Yeah, it was like, because like, for instance, you'd walk into a room and it'd be like almost pitch black, like you turn up your screen brightness black.
Right.
And then you would all of a sudden come across this, like, and I happen to just come across this electrical box, and then you get the option to repair it. So I repair it. I do the little right bumper, left bumper mini game to repair it quicker. It gets repaired, and all of a sudden the lights come on. There was like so many.
Have a flashlight, but it's got a battery, and it basically it's like one of those shake flashlights that you have to stop using it to charge it up again. I'm like, why are you doing this in a fast-paced multiplayer game, giving me a flashlight that dies?
Yeah. So Schwan and I went through like so many like dark
Ooh.
rooms, not knowing that actually there's probably an electrical breaker box somewhere that we could have found to turn the fucking lights back on. It's just like it's yeah, the game just is odd. Like they just decided to like not really teach you. Like the premise of the game is actually kind of funny and like different for like a multiplayer game, where the fact that you're playing as like maintenance guys and you're trying to fix things, and then all the
Right.
while there's like these wacky like things that show up, like dudes in freaking flying barber chairs that are shooting stuff at you, and you gotta like
That's what I was kind of hoping for, because like I know how weird the world of Control is and like what the people are dealing with, and I'm like, being a maintenance guy in that could be kind of funny. But it
yes,
sounds like they have
and
completely lost the plot on that.
it I think what happened was I think they just lost the plot. Like they kind of had that, and then they just decided to, like Swan said, they decided to take it, throw it in a rocket ship, send it to Mars, and see what happened.
Ooh.
It's just
Oh,
like,
man.
Luckily, our last game fared a lot better in a lot of ways.
so we decided to actually break fires this time.
Yeah, so after that, we
Yes.
did go to Firefighter Simulator, also on Game Pass, because I saw some people play it and they had some fun with co-op. So Chase and I were like, let's do that. So we went in, they make you do just the tutorial, and then they say, do you want to try the rest of it? And we're like, nope, we're ready to fight fires.
The game
We'll
even
figure
tells
the
you,
rest
like,
out.
yeah,
We
the
played
game tells you,
Firebreak. We're good at this.
game tells
And-
you, hey, before you go on, you should probably learn some more things. And we were just like, nah, screw that.
Yeah, they're like, shut up, leave me alone. So, anyway, whoever's the host is the only person who's allowed to drive, which I'm like, this sucks. I want Chase to drive the damn truck. You can use the horn, the siren, all that good stuff, which he was telling me on the fly because we didn't do the other training. That is surprisingly fun because if you want to skip the driving, you can go right to the scene.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you because we're going to use this word a lot. AI was horrible in it, where the way I would command them, I'd be like, go to that. And he's like, I'll put out that fire, sir. And they walk right into the fire.
They were trying to put it out with their body.
I forgot about that.
And then if
You're
I'm like,
fueling
"Can you
the fire,
can
you
break that
jackass."
window and save the person inside." They break the window and they're like, "Window's broken, Chief." And I'm like, "Don't just stand there." It took us almost like 30 minutes to put out a tree.
Oh, that was
AI is our future.
But then we got to another one where a hot dog stand was on fire and Chase went there all by himself, put it out, and he's like, let's get back in the truck and go home.
it's time for lunch.
But it is very involved. You can use the ladders, you can use crowbars, axes, you can use O2 extinguishers and fire extinguishers depending on the type of fire.
Mm-hmm.
The fires do look pretty good. It's just weird sometimes with the way people are just like standing there. Like, what should I do next, sir? I'm like, go back in the truck and sit underneath it. But you have to save people, so you have to carry them out too, and they were good at that at least.
See, the last Firefighter game I remember.
It does some things very well, but
Mhm.
doing the AI commands, I was like, why did I have a much better time commanding my teammates in a game like Conflict Desert Storm, a great series, by the way. But
That's a
then
great
in this
series.
one, I'm like, I don't know what they're doing.
Oh.
The
Oh,
state
my
of
God.
gaming, everybody.
Yeah,
The
the last
state of
Firefighter
gaming.
game that I remember playing was like back. It wasn't even on the Dreamcast, but it was on the Naomi board arcade machine, I think, that got released. And I remember playing that one because it was more of an arcade style. But yeah, that's interesting.
I do want to point out though in Firefighter Simulator, I almost died in one segment.
I did die.
Not to my fault, actually. I didn't kill Swan this time, so that was good. But Swan decided
May
to
not
break
want
a
to be
window.
there, huh? Hit him with a truck.
Swan decided to break a window, jump into the bathroom, and then all of a sudden I just see him turn around, jump back out, and I was like, "The hell's he doing?" So I jumped in there and I, with my pry bar, started trying to pry open this door.
You ever
All
see
of a
the movie
sudden,
Backdraft?
Yep, I was about
Yeah.
to ask.
all of a sudden, just a boom! I was like, "Oh, yep, okay, that's
Yeah.
why he turned around."
I saw the telltale signs under the door, and I was like, I told him, I was like, I saw the movie Backdraft. I'm leaving.
I should have
Uh,
channeled
but-
my inner
but-
T-Zero.
For my last point, though, as that one is a pretty good co-op, if you guys do like Firefighter games,
Mhm.
I can highly recommend Urban Chaos and Firefighters FD18 for PS2. Those are really good ones to play.
Yeah,
Nice.
Urban Chaos T0, was it T0 Riot Response or something like that? That game was amazing.
Fantastic. All right. So y'all ready to get angry? Let's get angry.
We're already angry. We played Firebreak.
Yeah,
That's the secret. I'm always angry.
Oh, let's get into it. All right. So I just titled this whole section just Microsoft's Xbox Massacre because that's all it
Jeez.
fucking is. Because I'm just gonna run it now. This is just nothing but
Corporate greed.
over and over
Yes.
again. Yeah. So Microsoft, I'm just gonna start off right now and just say Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, and Matt Booty should have been let go instead of this. They have taken, the last guy that made the comment about Xbox with the 360. Everyone's like, "Oh, that's why it's failing now." I think that guy's do an apology because this is more damage than he has done than that. But they need to be let go because everyone else having to suffer from their ongoing mismanagement, straight up lies, and more about all this stuff. They've just proven that they can fail and fail, but everyone else has to pay the price. This is because over 9,000 jobs were lost in one day from the fourth run of layoffs from Microsoft in just over the last 18 months. All the while, they posted and boasted about record high profits and stock prices, and stating that this is the largest market of people they've had playing Xbox games and great sales. Yet still, they've already laid off 15,000 people in 2025 alone. That's not even counting what was from last year as well. Phil Spencer, in a completely bonehead move, released a memo that I'm just going to read an excerpt from it because you're just like, mind you, 9,000 people just lost their job, and he sends this out. So the quote was, "I recognize that these changes come at a time when we have more players, games, and gaming hours than ever before. Our platform, hardware, and game roadmap have never looked stronger. The success we're seeing currently is based on tough decisions we've made previously. We must make choices now for continued success in future years, and a key part of that strategy is a discipline to prioritize the strongest opportunities. We will protect what is thriving and concentrate efforts on areas with the greatest potential while delivering on the expectations the company has for our business. This focused approach means we can deliver exceptional games and experiences for players for generations to come."
So
Well
what they're
said,
so what,
ChatGPT,
so
yeah.
what they're saying is two of the most anticipated games that they had currently in development
Yeah.
were not worth their time. Then we're not something that should have that we're not the one of the strongest opportunities.
Yeah.
Phil
That-
Spencer said, "Hey, ChatGPT, give me a brain dead response."
Oh, we have an actual, even more brain dead response from another Microsoft executive about AI. We'll get to in a little bit. Like, it gets worse.
I hate them.
Oh yeah, no. Right now, they are on everyone's shit list as they should be because they have run Xbox into the ground. And there's the whole back and forth of, well, this is Microsoft's decision. It's not, Spencer and them are trying to keep everything afloat. At this point, I don't care. I mean, I have seen people go for less than this. If they have any chance of riding the ship at Xbox for any of this stuff, Microsoft's going to have to get AI out of their ass.
Yeah,
Because
I don't want to be mean, but this sounds like Sega before they went software only.
Sega had more respect and worked better than this before they went. And they had the Dreamcast, which was doing good, but didn't sell as well. I don't remember them having like mass layoffs and stuff to this extent. It was a smaller company. They might have still had it at the time, but they at least were clear cut about it, not trying to do this back and forth thing of, well, we're going to have games that are, going to go to all these other places. We're giving you less and less reasons to actually buy an Xbox. We're going to have a handheld that's basically no different than every other existing Windows handheld. We're just going to give it a little bit of an interface, but we're going to give that to the other ones anyways.
And we'll get more into this as it goes along. But my favorite part of this is that people, important people that are part of this company
Mhm.
saw this and went, "Oh well, fuck you, I'm gone, bye." Like that's literally what they went.
this was a bloodbath for a lot of this stuff. So, oops, I almost closed the window there.
I mean,
Um,
a lot of it is like, why? Like, uh, Sony's done some bad things. Like they've done some bad things,
yeah,
and they're still
not to
doing
this extent.
questionable things. But I bet even the people at Sony are looking at Microsoft like, "Ooh, okay, well, let's use this as a roadmap for what not to do."
Oh, they're not doing well either.
They're not.
All I think,
no, they're not.
about is the reaction from the movie Friday of them just going, "Damn!"
Yeah. like it kind of seems a little out in left field. Like I'm like, who my question is what board member granted someone on the executive side a sexual favor to do this?
Oh,
That's my
God.
question. Because that is the only thing that makes sense to me, is some board member probably just was like, here is a blank check and here's what I want you to do. Okay, sweetheart, let's do that.
Well,
So-
the shareholders are happy because they prioritized all these layoffs to strengthen their AI infrastructure.
It's okay, all of this AI thing, I've had this feeling since the very beginning, and a lot of times my gaming predictions do come true, guys. Remember how much I've manifested?
Oh, I've never liked AI from the get-go.
Oh, no,
for a lot
neither
of
have
their
I, but
shit.
remember how much I've manifested lately with gaming stuff? Let's circle back to that for a second. And I've had a feeling since the beginning of all this AI bullshit that I recognize its importance as a tool in certain instances, so long as it doesn't overstep certain bounds. But I have a feeling that in the next 10 years, all of this is going to bite all of them in the ass. And then
This is a
they're
bubble that's going to blow.
Oh, yeah.
Side question,
Yes.
as for you, Jeremy, what was the stuff called in Iron Man 3 that made you super powerful but you glowed red?
Oh, that was damn it! It was considered. They called it a virus. I'm blanking on the name now because you asked me about that. That's what's annoying me. I know what you're talking about.
Basically, what Microsoft's doing is they're taking this stuff and they're feeling really powerful, but they're going to implode or
Extremist.
explode at some point.
It's literally roid rage.
Yeah, it's extremist is what it was.
Yeah.
They're going to extremists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
because it's well worded that a lot of people refer to this as an AI bubble, because that's what it is. And if we all remember, we've had bubbles before, be it the tech bubble, the early 2000s web bubble,
Mhm.
we had the housing market bubble.
Yep.
These all, when they blow, cause so much damage to the market, but these idiots still focus so much on it because they want that instantaneous money
The
now.
thing is and I think this says a lot about humanity in general. Everybody is so short-sighted when it comes to
Oh, yeah.
gains, when it comes to profits, when it comes to doing the next best thing. Sometimes the next best thing is like, what is everyone doing now? And that's what everybody is so focused on. I'm all for living in the present, but for the love of God, this is just sheer stupidity. Like 100%. Like I have some friends that work for tech companies, and they're just like, oh yeah, we use AI for this and AI for that, and I said, good luck, buddy. You're gonna regret that in about 10 years.
like-
And they go, no, we're not, it's streamlining our process. And I said, okay, but how long until 20% of what you do is AI involved? How long until it goes to 70%?
How long
Yeah.
before it streamlines you?
Yeah.
Because like we've talked about this before. I don't want to go into great detail about my
Yeah.
job, but we do use AI, but not in this same regards. We use it for like mass amounts of information sorting, which is what the intent of this originally was, where
Yep.
you've got so much data from so much stuff and you have to find a way to process it. That's what AI was originally intended for. For things like that. It has good uses where people are using it for like translations and stuff like that. But people, I'm also noticing, have become so reliant. I'll be looking at a problem, an engineering issue, and they're like, well, just go ask ChatGPT. And it's like, I refuse. And they keep looking at me like, oh, well, why aren't you doing that? It's like, because I would rather learn and know the answer and know that it was proper and not, oh, that'll be great. And then I fry something because it miscalculated or thought something wasn't there or
Yeah, you're going to be to
whatever,
blame,
thought
not
cheese
They're
was
not gonna-
conducted.
They're
Who
not
knows?
going to get mad at the performance review of ChatGPT. It's going to be you.
Yeah. And I refuse to do that. If I'm going to learn something, I'm going to freaking learn it, not have something break it down and try and tell me, because I can't trust that's actually there. That
Mhm.
whatever answer it gives me is proper.
Yeah. If you want to use it as a tool, to help you and then go back and check it yourself too, fine. That's
Like me,
great.
I use solder like people use AI.
Oh God.
There you go. See,
That's not a good thing, Rachel.
No, I know it's not. I know it's not.
I'm looking at the victim right over here.
Yeah. But it's like, we'll circle back to this of it is going to bite them in the ass, and it's going to happen.
Well, we're going to go through a couple of the, of what happened with this whole situation, because each one of these I think is worthy of a small discussion, because this is just a fucking slaughter.
It is. It's
happened.
A shit show.
So,
plain and simple.
And there's some of it could be argued it's warranted. A lot of it is not. And we'll start with the first one I think actually could be warranted. And I'll explain why. So the Initiative, the group formed a collection of gaming industry heavyweights, was shut down, and their game Perfect Dark was canceled just a few short months after it was finally showed gameplay and got a pretty good reception, myself included. I was excited to play it. Mind you, this game has been in development for 7 years. And apparently it has come up that behind the scenes, like a lot of their demos and so forth, are very vertical slices, and they were not getting a lot of stuff done. So that on its own could have been, okay, we're just cutting our losses and ending this. The experiment didn't work.
That to me said that they were just like, oh, we're Perfect Dark, critically acclaimed public thing.
Right. So are you saying, Jeremy, that they weren't taking the initiative?
God damn it.
Jesus. But that to me says that they were that screams to me power trip, where they were taking their time but taking their time because of the title that they were involved with. But I hope that what they did is possibly picked up somewhere else. Where
the actress right now is begging fans to save it.
Yeah. Well, that's what I hope, and that's that and there could be hope for that. I mean, more has been picked up with less. So
well, this is going to be a different.
Hard to save this because Rare's involved.
I was about to say, because it's different. Well, it's not like Tango Gameworks, where another company bought that up and could kind of continue those because that was their own licenses.
Mm-hmm.
This is a group that was developed working with another company that is still part of Microsoft's IP. That's like if they were making a Halo, just because they get released, if someone picks up their studio, they don't get Halo.
Oh no,
they
no, no,
no!
I'm not saying that.
In it
would have to be Durfic Park. So
right,
yeah,
Durfic
I'm
Park.
just saying that never say never. Like,
well, that's a 007.
But
never say die.
I'm just saying with the with the title and how anticipated it was, I don't foresee that being the last we hear of it. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it is. Like, it's pretty definitive that this one is this.
I mean,
version
the same could be said for Beyond Good and Evil 2. Where the hell is that?
That's next.
That's
I think
that's long gone. That's
right now, Microsoft is embracing 007 because they're doing everything or nothing.
Right.
That does look like a good game, though.
This next one really made no sense to me. Turn 10, who is the maker of one of the most successful developers and makers of the Forza Motorsport series, which has made a lot of money for Microsoft, is very popular both on PC and on console for the generations to come out to, had 50% of their staff laid off. And it's currently up in the air if the Forza series will continue, with reports being that they left just enough staff to maintain the series, not necessarily to make any more. So they've basically taken Turn 10 Studios and just made them into a support staff, which is just absolutely brutal. Because like I said, that is one of the tent posts of Xbox. Since the original Xbox, Forza Motorsports has been there. Not counting Forza Horizon, that group is still active. We haven't heard of any removal of their team. They're the ones making Fable right now, which, well, fingers crossed that still comes out. But it kind of would suck if this is the last Forza that we get. Because we were even getting rumors of a new Forza being announced sometime this year, and I was getting excited for it. I was like, oh, cool, a new entry in that series. Because that's their answer to Gran Turismo, and I think in a lot of ways they surpassed Gran Turismo, yet somehow this is what they're ending up with. Like Microsoft has no, like Rachel, like you said, they're not looking at the future whatsoever. They're like, whoa, we can cut and save the money right now and just completely demolish our future in this racing series, which made them a shit ton of money.
There's a particular movie studio that I won't name directly because reasons,
Right.
that did this kind of thing a few years ago, and well, it is now biting them in the butt. And they are reversing some of those decisions, and some of those things that we thought were canceled are now seeing the light of day. So I think they're going to come to regret this quite a bit. We'll see.
I believe it. Chase, go ahead.
I kind of, I don't know. I was thinking about this one because I was like, wow, this doesn't make any sense. But then I think with what Microsoft's potentially doing for like their kind of changing direction, they're kind of pivoting. And I think the thing with Forza Motorsport is that I think the issue with Forza Motorsport is you probably can't necessarily market that out to, like, say, PlayStation and the Switch and things like that, because like PlayStation owners probably have Gran Turismo. Whether or not Forza is better than Gran Turismo, I would argue it's probably not. Personally,
at least Forza can run without an internet connection. Gran Turismo without active internet is worse than a demo. Like it's less than that. Like it's
and that might be fine, but I mean, I've played Gran Turismo. I enjoy it. It runs great. I think a lot of people would probably. I'd actually be curious to see what more people prefer of the two. Personally, but I just don't think Forza Horizon makes sense. You can bring that over because it's a little bit more arcadey, and it does really well. It's really popular because it's like one of those ones that are like, it's arcadey, it's fun. It's not necessarily like super serious, like a sim type. So I think that was part of the reason probably behind this one, if I had to like take a guess, is that they probably don't foresee the Forza Motorsport series as something that's marketable to other places.
I have an argument with that because I have played every Gran Turismo and every Forza, compared them, played them as they came out from the original PlayStation, the original Xbox, and going through. Gran Turismo after 4 got lazy. Like they just got absolutely lazy. You were bouncing cars. You weren't having the damage, the physics. They got lazy with it until Forza was actually doing that, where you could have the car damage, the wear. They were putting the work in for this. They had to step up and start doing that themselves. And I think without that draw, they would have just kept making Gran Turismos. I mean, Sony's shown before, if they don't have competition, they will just keep making the same things and people will buy them. They don't care. Look how many times we've gotten The Last of Us and stuff. Like they don't care. They're going to keep releasing them.
And that's fine. I was just making my point that
no, I know. I
just don't necessarily. And like I said, I played GT7. I enjoy it. Like I love running like the GT3 and GT4 races and stuff. I think they're really well done.
Yeah, the reason I ended up skipping that one, because like it runs great, you can enjoy it. As soon as you don't have an internet connection, for whatever reason, that game becomes basically a one-track demo. Like even things you purchased won't even be allowed to be used. Like it's kind of ridiculous how much it relies on that, and that's part of what I was just like, okay, I'm out for that one. And that's only going to get worse if they don't have. I mean, they did that with competition. What are they going to do without? You know, like it kind of goes back and forth with that. But it was still one of their bigger series. I know a lot of people that we've built up like racing rigs around playing Forza because of the way that actually operates for simulators and stuff like that. Like there's a market for these things. So next up we had Rare was hit with cancellation of the long-awaited Everwild.
I want to cry.
Yeah, once again, just a few months after Phil Spencer talked about loving where the game was at during interviews earlier this year. And on top of that, Rare also lost 2 of their longest running members. They lost Greg Melees, who was director of Sea of Thieves. And he also worked on Banjo and Kazooie, who was a 35-year veteran of the company, along with Luis O'Connor, who was art director and voice actor for stuff like Conker's Bad Fur Day and a bunch of other titles, who had been with Rare since 1999.
I love how Greg was just like, I'm out.
Yeah, it wasn't even that. Like they got rid of him. He was one of the ones
Yeah.
laid off.
Well, I mean, it makes no sense. Like, I mean, he was director for Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves is doing great. Great time.
Yeah, it's
Like,
doing great on multiple systems.
yeah, no point. But at maybe he was maybe him leaving was saving other people. Maybe that. Maybe it was a conscious decision on his part. I don't know. I have no idea. This is just speculation.
That would assume Microsoft took in any actual personal thought on anybody, and I think they purely let an AI or numbers decide all this shit. I honestly do. Because there's no humanity to any of it.
My question is something happened. Something spurred this entire domino effect decision thing. And
the fact they've dumped $80 billion into AI funding and building up these AI farmhouses and all these things that they're doing, that's where all this money is going.
It's going
and they're betting on it for everything.
Bite them in the ass.
Wheel of morality. Turn. Tell us the lesson that we should learn.
It's gonna bite them in the ass.
Continuing the bloodbath, King, which is one of the well, yeah, they lost 10% of their staff, but that was a big thing because during the lawsuits, regards to them purchasing Activision Blizzard and King, is that they wanted King because of the mobile market and stuff for it. So they've ended up still cutting a huge chunk of those people from that. ZeniMax has shut down previously unannounced MMO that the Elder Scrolls Online team was working on, codenamed Blackbird, which, love it or hate it, Elder Scrolls Online has actually been making them money, and it's surprisingly popular with a good amount of people. Like it's not Final Fantasy 14, but it has been continuously having players enjoy it and kind of keeping itself alive. Like, I'm kind of shocked at how, we joke about every time they have new content updates on their directs that they show, but they have a player base around that, which is hard to get these days with as many online games as they get. So, don't know. Blizzard announced that their Warcraft Rumble will get updates, but no longer get any new content as they were hit with layoffs of an unknown amount of people, which that's the only news they really gave from that, which I know it's like a mobile game, but still people over at Blizzard. This one was really confusing, which, Chase, I'm curious to get your thoughts on it as well, but Call of Duty is a guaranteed moneymaker. Doesn't matter which version they make, how it goes, they are making money. But 3 Call of Duty studios, Raven Studios, Sledgehammer Games, and High Moon Studios, have all been hit with a yet unannounced amount of layoffs. And like that's hitting them in the pocketbook. Like, they were trying to end their last event with like, oh, we got Black Ops 6 coming out.
But they did end their last event with we got Black Ops 6 coming out.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, that's how big they still think it is. Yet they're trimming out a lot of the people that make these games. Because they've gotten, they kept saying they were getting smarter about it, where they would have different teams making different parts of the game, be it the story, the multiplayer. They're all coming together with that launcher, like you were saying. They have to be able to produce that content, yet they're still being hit with layoffs.
Yeah, this one I thought was kind of interesting, but I mean, the problem is I wish I was a fly on the wall in Microsoft to kind of understand a little bit more of what's going on. But like, I think with this one though, because I mean, like, how many support studios do they have just for Call of Duty? I mean, I think if there's some fat to be trimmed, it's probably in there. I'm not necessarily like, I don't want to sound like a heartless bastard or anything like that, but I'm just...
How dare you, Chase?
But like, I would possibly make the argument that there probably is some degree of... Because what was a High Moon? They worked on Deadpool, and then before they even found out if Deadpool was a success, that got turned into a Call of Duty support studio. And
so eventually we're going to have Sledge Raven Moon Studios.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, we already kind of do, to be fair, but then the other problem is those that, like, so you got Treyarch. Treyarch was working on Black Ops 6.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even necessarily have Black Ops 6 fully ready by the time it was launching, and then they ended up pulling people from Sledgehammer and Raven and all these other places to come and help them to get it right before it. So the thing is even though they changed this so-called model, which then how much do they actually change? Because we've got another Black Ops coming out, this year.
Yeah.
When usually they cycle between like Black Ops Modern Warfare and then something else, and then they come around. I don't know. I just it just seems.
Like I said, their
there's a lot of
decisions sound like-
questions. There's a lot of weird decisions that's going on, and yeah, I don't know.
It feels like a lot of these decisions are just being made by asking a damn AI, and it's just looking at raw numbers and giving an answer going, well, this game was popular, make another one. This one hasn't sold well, it hasn't come out yet. Who cares? Cut it.
I think we're seeing a little bit of the rubber band effect from them going on this spending spree and buying all these companies.
I agree.
I think, and we're seeing the snapback, I think, is what's happening. They were stretching the rubber band out, buying all these studios, and then all of us, at some point, you're going to let it go. That rubber band's going to snap back.
Yeah.
And it is. Yeah. No, I the Call of Duty one. Yeah, you're right. It is basically a license to print money because there's people that hold out for the next one every year. They don't care.
That's all they play. It's like with Madden every year. That's maybe the only game they play.
Because they made their own, and they made this.
It's boring.
And they've made this Call of Duty ecosystem.
Not to them.
And they've made this Call of Duty ecosystem now with because they tie everything into Warzone. So, which is why I think they did the whole launcher thing because everything's tied to Warzone now.
Oh yeah, they're trying to make every game like, DLC gets you stuff on different ones to try and entice you, and they want to Fortnite Call of Duty.
Yeah,
they want that kind of action in there with people paying for it. And what really hurts, like High Moon Studios, even before they were a Call of Duty one, made hands down the two best Transformers games ever made.
I agree.
War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron are the best Transformers games, period.
I thought their demotion was pretty unwarranted, to be fair. They made some really good games, and the Deadpool game was fantastic.
And it
got really good reviews, and it got high marks across the board. And before those high marks even came through, they were already demoted. They didn't have a choice.
I mean, it sold well on 360, and then later on Xbox One when it got remade. It sold great both times while they had the license.
Absolutely.
So these groups can make really good games outside of Call of Duty, but Microsoft is seeming to have the same problem Activision did and just focusing them in on one thing and making them churn it out, which is just going to burn everybody out anyways if they don't get laid off at this point.
Yeah, Microsoft kind of... Sorry, Swan, go ahead.
Yeah, go.
I was just going to add that when you said Fortnite Call of Duty, right after Fortnite added King of the Hill and Bob's Burgers, Call of Duty added in Beavis and Butthead. And
God.
And the gym teacher and one other character. with all their original voices. So I was like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
So those were the first fully, I guess, cell shaded characters now that are in there. Before it was celebrities and stuff, or wrestlers. So I was just like, at least they'll blend in. No, now you're full cell shaded characters running around, and they're not even the correct proportions. They're stretched out to be their human size.
And I like, and I think we can all agree, fun cameos in a game, if they're well done, are great. I remember when Spider-Man got put into Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, how great that was. Or the fact that Tony Hawk 3 and 4, we may not like how it's being made, but the fact they're adding the Ninja Turtles makes sense. That's perfect. Why
were
they not there before?
Call of Duty? Why would you want anything else?
Who was it?
We got Seth Rogen. Not playing as anybody but himself.
Yeah. At least that's kind of inside joke for that. But I mean, some of these are just getting weird with it. Next up, Halo Studios, formerly 343 Studios, had a minimal amount of people laid off, but still no titles announced in the works for them. We have no idea what the future of Halo is. Some people wondering if Microsoft's just dropping it or just going to reboot it to have it on other systems. How that's going to actually continue. Undead Labs. Well, they might. I mean, they're kind of rebooting Gears of War to let other people see it again, so they can kind of go with that to bring it out.
Oh yeah, I mean, I do think they're working on getting Halo to PlayStation. I think eventually we'll see the Master Chief Collection or something similar make its way over. Eventually,
they might be the only way to get the physical copies. Who knows?
Yeah, probably.
Actually, no. Those would just be a code and a disc.
Disc installer.
Yeah, they're going to make an actual disc,
disc.
but it will have a code printed on it, and you just have to put that code in. Like, you won't even get to put the disc in. That's how shitty I feel this is going to get. It'll be the worst of code in a box and a launcher disc all in one. That's the innovation of Microsoft. This one kind of worries me, especially because of our recent love of State of Decay 2. Undead Labs, makers of State of Decay series, had members laid off, and there's now a question on if State of Decay 3 is still in development, because it got a couple of trailers that were kind of interesting, including a zombie deer. I remember that and going, what the hell? But we have seen no gameplay of it or anything beyond that. It's just kind of gone quiet.
343 Studios to save State of Decay 3.
Let's say it's called Halo Studios now. That's not even 343 anymore.
To be sort of fair.
Well, I was saying how many people they should fire. 343.
Oh. God damn it.
To be fair, pre-layoffs, we were wondering if State of Decay 3 was still a thing. So actually, we have our question.
This isn't helping. Yeah.
Our question stands still. To be fair,
yeah, it's not helping. Like I said, as much as I've all of a sudden it's finally clicked, and this, funny enough, this was originally going to be the big question for this week. Is like, what is a game or series that just never clicked with you that all of a sudden just snapped into place and you loved it? And this was going to be my response. State of Decay, because of the fact that the three of us playing it, I'm absolutely loving it and enjoying it. And I'm like, well, shit, now you guys fucked up more and I have to do other stuff now. So yeah. One of the few studios to make it through without any touch is Obsidian Games, because they seem to be one of the few, like, all of their games are still in development, with Grounded 2 and some of the other titles they're working on. They, like I said, they seem to be one of the few that has not taken a hit on anywhere in the company at this point. Will that work on probably the 5th, 6th, or 7th rounds of layoffs they seem to be doing? Who knows? Because they're producing these faster than fucking Call of Duty does. But even stuff outside of Microsoft is taking the brunt of this. And this one really hurt because we're finding out about a game and the closure of a studio all at the same time, which sucks. But Doom co-creator and industry legend John Romero's entire development company, Romero Games, has been laid off as Microsoft pulled all publishing funds as a yet announced FPS that they were hard at work on and were fully relying on the funding. And this is around 100 employees that were shut down. Several other projects were canceled like this when the publisher Bethesda pulled all funding, but we still don't know the full extent of which developers were hit yet. We only know about
what Rachel said is this is it would apply to this. This could be saved.
Hopefully, yes. Somebody else can come in because they hired a lot of these people for this game in particular. I would hope John Romero would be able to at least get some funding or do something. I don't know.
Probably working as hard as we speak.
Oh, he probably got out of bed this morning and went, "Oh, fuck all you guys."
I mean, John Romero's made mistakes before, but yeah. I mean, the guy does make good games.
He makes good games. He
posted that little PR thing of what happened to him, and he's like, "I'll be working to get this back and running."
Yeah, I think he still has a good laugh about that whole thing with like Daikatana and all that. Like, but I don't know, like. A new FPS from them sounds like it could have been interesting, especially, you know, the funding from Bethesda of like what they were doing. Mm-hmm. But I agree. I hope this one maybe can be saved somewhere. But I think regardless, they may not be able to get everybody back. Like people are going to be losing their jobs from it. So we want to talk about some asinine responses. Well, here's the one that kind of pissed me off the most. It's from Matt Turnbull, executive producer at Xbox Game Studio Publishing. He decided that with all these layoffs and people's lives being thrown for forfeit, that he should push the use of AI as a way to cope, even though it is the main reason these people have lost their jobs because of the reliance and belief that real people's ideas aren't worth as much as stolen ones that a machine regurgitates.
How disconnected can you be? Like, how? Oh my God.
This is so disconnected that he almost feels like he's pushing a marketing ad for Microsoft's AI or AI tools while trying to comfort the people that lost their jobs. Because
I'm sorry, is someone pointing a firearm at him off screen?
He did delete the post too.
Oh.
Yeah, but the internet's fucking forever, dude.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it was a pretty tone deaf thing to say.
So basically, he's
Right.
pushing
All of
AI
them
to
are tone deaf.
remove the
All of 'em.
emotional response and pain of what is happening, while also trying to push the tools for people to get over their emotional responses so they can move on. Just fuck this guy. What the hell?
Well,
Did
listen.
you imagine
I
reading
knew,
this and he kept his job and you didn't? Like, what the-
I knew there was a reason that the only Microsoft thing that I use is my computer, like my PC, which is a completely different part of the company, I might add. As the I'm just saying, there's a reason why I'm just like, I don't like these people. Like,
I
generally.
mean, before this, I still love using my Xbox. It
Oh,
has
yeah.
been the series of systems I've enjoyed, but the decisions this company has made, and I know people have tried to give benefit of the doubt. Oh, Phil Spencer is just trying to do what he can with it because he's fighting with Nutella and all them leading Microsoft. But at some point, there has to be you're going to have to be at fault for how this is running. Like something has to be done. He can't just
It is gonna bite him in the
keep pushing
ass.
it.
It is.
Yeah, I remember when the first, or not, maybe was it the first or was it the second wave? I can't remember now at this point. Like, there's so many layoffs happening with Microsoft.
Yeah, it's fucking
just like,
ridiculous.
I've lost count of the waves at this point. It's like Space Marine. Are we on wave 4? Are we on wave 5? I don't know.
It got bad enough. We're having to break a rule to make this episode. We had made a rule. I think Chase, Steven, and I talked about this. I think Rachel, you were involved too.
Mhm.
We were like, there are so many layoffs going across the industry. We were like, we don't want to keep covering it all the time.
Mhm.
We were just going to stop. And
But this is so prevalent that we literally can't.
It's pretty big.
It's
But-
huge.
Yeah. But,
Yeah.
so I think it was either, I can't remember if it was like the second or third wave of layoffs that Microsoft did. And there was an article I read that was titled, "Can we finally stop giving Phil Spencer a pass?"
I saw that. Yeah.
And it was a fair question.
Mhm.
Point, at
It
the
is a fair
time,
question at this point.
It was
it
well
was a-
written too. I think I read that same article.
it was very well written. Like, the person wasn't like bashing him or anything like that, but they did pose the question of, "Hey man, like, a lot of this stuff's happened under your watch.
At what point
and-
do you take responsibility?
Exactly. And the other and like from other podcasts that I've listened to, a lot of people have said, if I was Phil Spencer at this point, I'd probably step down. Like, and I
Mhm.
think that's probably what he kind of just needs to do. But I think the problem is I don't think Phil wants to, but I think at this
But
point it's
Well,
kind
he's
of
already
like,
publicly said he won't because he's
Yeah.
already come out
well,
about that.
here's the problem too. If he steps down, what makes anyone think that whoever comes after him is going to do any better?
I mean,
I think
the person
Sarah
who,
Bond is the next
and-
one, but
And why would he step down when they have record profits and all the shareholders are more than happy?
yeah, and that's fine. See, and at the end of the day, though, Microsoft's a company and a
Mhm.
business, and at the end of the day, the only obligation that they have to anybody is their stockholders, their
Yep.
shareholders. Unfortunately,
but even right now, financially, they are the second largest and financial company in the world. Only just a little behind Nvidia right now, who got a huge boom because of the AI and their cards, and they're actually set to kind of overtake them. So as the richest, most profitable company in the world, they're now having 15,000 layoffs
Tech
just this
company.
year alone.
Let's preface that with tech company.
Well, I don't think it was tech. I think it's just period. Like,
Oh, really? I'm
yeah.
shocked.
yeah,
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised. I mean, yeah, like, Nvidia got the boom.
You may be
because
correct, Rachel. I'll double check that, but
Mhm.
everything I read was just company.
Nvidia exploded because of the whole Bitcoin thing and the Bitcoin farming.
and AI,
And-
yeah.
yeah. So like there was a while there where you couldn't even get a GPU because of everybody wanted these big mining rigs for
Yep.
Bitcoin and all that stuff. So I think what's happening is those now that, because Bitcoin mining is not lucrative anymore, it's basically like, unless you got in early, there's no point in trying to do it anymore. So
Yep.
now we're starting to see that you can actually get a GPU now. So I think that's
Well, I'm
probably slowed them
hoping
down.
to see, like Rachel said, this bubble is going to burst, and Microsoft has set themselves up to be massively destroyed by it. And Nvidia, almost everything they're doing relies on it because they're so focused making their cards and their chips that are just for AI. they're going to become useless if this finally bursts.
I
I
will
don't
say
think
the only benefit to this
Mhm.
huge AI push right now, the more it happens, the more the quicker the bubble will burst. That is literally the only foreseeable benefit that I see. And that's not even really a benefit, honestly. It makes it harder for consumers
Mhm.
more immediately. But then, when the bubble does burst, it might get better a little bit. But like I'll tell you one thing. I love to read. I have a book next to me right now. Okay. Let me tell you how AI affects me as a reader. Do you know how many bookstores and places I go to that I will not buy a book because I can tell almost immediately the cover was designed by AI?
Yeah,
I will
you're a
just
graphic artist. That's your job.
Yeah, I will just outright like refuse to buy
Mhm.
it. Like, you want to use AI as an inspirational tool to give you ideas of what you should like do, like just as inspiration, and then do the stuff yourself. That's fine. That is fine. And I said, but like the more people that use it in the more in the different like sectors of commerce, tech, publishing, art, the more the people that use it and the more that it grows and the more that it learns, the quicker the bubble's going to burst. But the more people are going to be affected more quickly by that in a negative way. And will it get better? Probably, yes, eventually. Once, the turns have tabled and we go back. I'm trying to think of another instance where tech bit us in the ass. What
tech's always bit us in the ass.
I
Well,
mean,
I
it doesn't
mean,
help
like,
that
majorly.
they just passed laws that unregulate AI even more now.
Well, there
Like, it
actually
removed restrictions on it.
actually there's quite a few states that did not, like, they blocked that.
Well, they're
So
trying to, but federally, it was part of the lovely, getting into a little bit of politics. That whole bill that got passed was a big part of that was unregulation of AI, and
it's lazy, and I'm just saying
oh,
it's
it's
gonna
terrible. Yeah,
it's gonna
It's because we're in this AI arms race with China right now. That's why. That's really what it boils down to.
no, it is, yeah, for sure.
Because
But
what part of the world has like the most regulation on AI? It's Europe. So where do
Mhm.
all the AI companies avoid?
And China
Europe.
already has a better, more formidable AI than everything we have over here.
yeah,
But
it's an arms race to the bottom. Is what this is going to end up being for
it's
any kind of
it's
creativity.
like, it reminds me of the space race, but in a bad way.
Yeah, it's the shittier version. It's the crappy remake of the space race.
Yeah,
But
it is.
to be honest, though, the space race was for the same reason, was for money.
Yes.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, all of this is for money. All of it.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. I love money. I would love to be absolutely like horrendously rich. I would love that. I would love to be obnoxiously rich. But you know what I wouldn't do with it? Whatever these people are doing. Because I am a good human being with a moral compass and a brain. So I don't know. I think I truly think that on all fronts, the use of AI is going to bite us in the ass. Kids are getting stupider, and that's not just because their parents aren't educating them correctly and they don't care, and they
That's
don't
been
care.
an issue.
I've noticed it a lot since AI like has become more
It's
prevalent.
gotten down to the point where they need to use tools to make sure their papers aren't written by AI.
Yeah.
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 It's terrifying how many people you have to ask, like, to look up something or research something, and they don't know how to do it.
They don't know how to
They
do
just
it.
try and type on their phone to see if it'll give them the answer, and it's like, go do actual research, look into something, verify your sources, look into, and they have no idea what any of that means. Well,
Like,
the AI says this, and I'll poke holes in so much of their answer, going, yeah,
yeah.
all of this is incorrect. How do you know? Well,
Like,
here's the shit.
admittedly, that little AI summary at the top of Google can be very useful, and I use it to lead me to actual sources.
I shut
And-
that off.
And what I do for that, Rachel,
Mhm.
is as I've told my parents,
Mhm.
and my wife, I've said, make sure you always click on those little symbols after you've gotten the summary, because it's very important where they got their sources from.
Exactly.
Because when I've clicked on them and you see stuff like .gov, .edu, I was like, you know what? you could take that at face value. I think you're pretty safe.
Yeah.
But other times when it's told you to microwave your rocks or put glue on pizza, it's because it's taken one social media post and said, that's smart. I'm like, no. But I said, always check your sources. I was like, this has been pre-AI that when you do a paper, check your sources, cite your sources.
As an educated woman who has been entrenched in academia since I was like honestly 6 years old, my parents would drop me off at the library and leave me there for several hours with our librarian friend while my mother taught classes at the hospital and my dad was in nursing school. Always check your sources. Do your research. Read an actual book, for the love of God. I hope that these, honestly, I am hoping that this AI problem bites Microsoft in the ass, because they deserve it at this point. They do. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm stopped caring at this point. It just,
I agree.
let it bite him in the ass. And you know what we'll say? I fucking told you so.
So before I do
It's
my
another
last little
clip.
bit, no, good old Rachel rant. Chase, I think you were going to say something about the NVIDIA card earlier. I didn't think you kind of got cut off there. Sorry about that.
No, well, I did say it about the Bitcoin stuff or whatever.
Okay,
but I don't know that.
I know not all of their graphics cards are reliant on AI. I know they use their own enclosure, but they make a lot of cards just for AI.
Well, that's what the 50 series, that was the big issue with the 50 series, right? Because this new 50 series utilizes a lot of AI.
Yeah, that's kind of a side piece of it, but they make cards specifically for AI use that are not normal graphics cards, and that's like a huge bit of their company. So that's where they'll bite them in the ass if this all goes down.
Eventually.
So the last thing I want to say about this, I typed it up earlier, and I'm just going to read it because this is what my thoughts were at the time of doing the show notes. Ultimately, AI is being used as a crutch where those without imagination or creative ability can try to emulate what others achieve with original ideas and creativity to try and make themselves feel better at the cost of humanity. So it's basically just going, well, I can't draw or I can't write, so I'm going to let this machine just copy everybody else's stuff and say, look, I did this as a sad attempt to just try and be better instead of figuring out what you're actually good at. I suck at drawing. I know that. That's why I contact Rachel and be like, hey, can you please draw this for me? But I'm pretty good at writing. I'm great at engineering. These are the things I know I'm good at and what I enjoy. I don't try and use AI to take over Rachel's job or be like, I can make this look like this. I ask her because that is an actual human interaction.
And I can write too. Like it's pick your strengths, pick your battles. If you're not good at something, learn how to do it.
Yeah. Collaborate with a human.
Or collaborate. Or ask someone to teach you, for the love of God. Like, I know that I will never know how to code, nor do I want to learn how to code. So,
I'm trying to learn.
I don't.
But that's a whole different thing. Yeah.
Stressful.
Yeah, it is. Trust me. Steven, go ahead.
My final point on this of AI for at least this episode, because it'll come back to me.
Oh, it'll come back. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was best said by, I watched a video by the incredible author, because he's insane, Brandon Sanderson, where he was asked about the art for some of his characters, and he said the thing about AI is credit where credit's due. And he said the problem with people putting in a prompt is you're not the artist, you're the art director. Because he said the characters that I needed drawings of, I had ideas and I had descriptions in my head, but I had no idea how to visualize it. So when he hired an artist to do it, he would keep making adjustments, saying, I want to change that, get rid of that. But he said in no part of the entire process did he ever say it was his art. He said, I directed this artist to create my vision, but it's his art. It is just my character and my description and my lore. But he's just like, every little bit from there on, it's all him. And
I just purchased 4 books of his today on my used bookstore.
That's what will
not a bad thing.
Like, that's what people really need to realize is just like, when you're giving prompts, you're directing. You're not making anything.
Yeah.
You are now the director. You are the art director for somebody else's work. So hopefully you can find out who did that AI art piece because it stole from somebody. So give credit to that person. That you are not the person who created it.
For sure. Chase, did you want to have a last hate on for some AI as well, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of rounding it back to like what we were talking about. I think this is. I mean, it sucks. It sucks for the people that got hit with this layoff, and I think that hopefully they're able to find something in the future.
Yeah.
Oh, some studio somewhere a bunch of these people will get snatched up. Some of the people who've been with the company a long time might use it as an excuse to retire.
I'm sure some of these people will get pretty decent like severance deals.
Oh
Hopefully,
yeah,
out of
I
the
hope
deal.
so, but sadly that depends on where they live, because Microsoft will try not to do that much extra unless they're in a
I've already
legal
seen posts
requirement.
from people who were given the whole shabam to move, and as soon as they moved, they were laid off.
Yeah, there's a few of them. They were like, "Yeah, I was here for 4 months."
There was another one who they said another person got hired above them just this month, and then got laid off, but they have a $15 million severance, and they get nothing.
Jesus. Yeah, I've loved my Xbox for decades at this point of playing them and enjoying them, but that heart is dead at this point. It's just how it is. And yeah.
Well, everybody, my Xbox players, put your Xbox on the shelf for a little bit, let it have a couple month nap, and see what happens.
My Game Pass machine.
Yeah, I'm not doing Game Pass still. I was like, now I'm definitely not going to do that.
I've never done Game Pass.
You're still playing some Microsoft games. But yeah.
I turned on my like Xbox app or whatever on my PC the other day, and it's like, oh, we put a $5 gift card in there for you. It's sent me this like 3 months ago, and I received no email, no nothing, no communication to me aside from that notification. And that $5 is still sitting in there, and I'm like, I have no idea what I want in there. No idea.
You could probably use it on some add-ons for Sea of Thieves. It seems like the logical thing you would do, like for hats and stuff like that.
Probably.
Maybe. Be like, I got a fancy hat.
I just played some Sea of Thieves today, actually.
So. It popped up on Discord showing that. Yeah. All right, let's move on to something better. Jesus, this is depressing.
Is it better though? What else is good?
Actually, I think this is
a diamond in the rough.
So I thought this was a joke at first when I saw it. I was like, who the fuck is posting this now? But yeah, Helldivers 2 has been announced for Xbox Series X and S on August 28th, which is kind of a thumbs up while also giving the finger to Microsoft at the same time by Sony, because it's the same day Gears of War Reloaded launches. So now they are directly launching against each other on the same hardware.
Microsoft, this will not save you. I just want to tell you that.
Well, it's not Microsoft really doing that. It's a Sony thing.
I know that. Yeah. But someone, somewhere along the lines is going to say, oh, for all the people who would boycott or not use their Xbox because of all these layoffs or something, is now going to keep using it because of Helldivers.
Oh no! What's funny is the reactions I've seen from Sony players about this have been wildly hilarious because they are angry.
Oh, who cares?
I have seen some of these responses. I wish I'd taken screenshots of a few of them, because they're just like, Sony's betraying us and giving that crap to them. And it's like, well, I guess people that actually play Helldivers are like, like, hey, more people to join us. Cool. Like we can.
I should have played Concord more, and you didn't. So now Xbox is Helldivers.
I might end up getting this just so I can, because when we play Helldivers, I got to sit in here at the computer because I have it on PC. And I'm like, I would love to.
It won't be physical. It'll just be a code in a box.
Given the type of game it is, I'm just going to buy it digitally anyways. I already only own it digitally regardless, because it's an online service game. It's constantly changing with updates. I get why that's not going to have a physical game, because there's not even a single player. I can't like really play it by myself other than going through missions that are. Yeah, they're insane. They're insane.
Yeah. Well, if you put in I'm assuming you have to probably put in like your PSN, maybe potentially like your PSN account or some type.
Like they did with Steam.
Maybe, like, I could see it. Like Sony did remove the requirement for that for some places, but they were like, hey, we'll give you like extra cape or something if you do it. Like, give people an incentive, and you'd be surprised how often they do it. Make it a
I was gonna
requirement,
say,
and all of a sudden you're pissing people off. Like,
because is this game cross save? So like, if you get it on Xbox, you'll be able to just
I
continue your progress.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think
It's
so.
Ooh,
cross play, but I don't know if it's
That'd be harsh.
because I don't know. Is it cross save between PC and PlayStation now? Like, if I bought it
don't
on
know.
PlayStation, would my stuff move over? I've never
It
looked.
might because you had to have a PSN account.
That's
Did
what I
look
mean. I
up-
wonder if the login, if there's the incentive of the login you get the.
If it gives you a login, I will say yes. If it doesn't give you a login, I will say no.
We
Because
shall
how else
see.
could it do that? The only way to do that is with a login.
Yeah,
I
true.
play ZZZ on my phone, on Xbox, and on PS5, and it saves all what I do on every single system because I have to log in.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because that's one of the things, like, that's usually the benefit of logging in with your Xbox account on stuff. Like, Rachel, I know you were talking about like playing Sea of Thieves. If you then got it on an Xbox and played it there, your stuff would carry over. It would be the same save moving over to it.
That's why I don't mind logins, because it's more beneficial for games that sometimes it gives you something for linking another system. Other times it's just carrying over all your stuff, and you're getting bonuses just for having the login. So it's like, we have how many logins now on the internet? What's another one? Just create a different password from all your other stuff in case this one gets
I will
hacked.
say it when I booted up Sea of Thieves the other day, like I think it was on Tuesday for the 1st
Mhm.
time in quite a while. It had me log back into like Microsoft, but it was so strange how I had to log back in, because it made me log back in on the Xbox like app, and then I had to log in again in the game launcher, and then I had to log into Steam again. Like it did this weird sign out circular thing, and I was like, who hurt you? What happened?
Yeah, because like I've Sea of Thieves digitally, so I just open
do
the
I.
Xbox app on the PC and it just plays. I don't have to worry about Steam or anything like that. So
Oh, I
it's a
bought
little
it
bit
on
different on
Steam.
mine. Yeah, I try and
bought it
avoid
on
that
Steam.
because for the longest time, Steam versions of Xbox games, you could not move the save over because Steam had a particular way they did the saves, and they've had to add a different system to allow that for certain titles. But I'd already bought the games the other way, so it didn't matter. Now I looked it up. Cross progression probably won't be there. Cross play will be. We know that.
Yep.
Cross progression, I found out even right now, it's not there for PC and PS5. So
Oh,
you're
that's
definitely not going to get it
harsh.
between Xbox. So that sucks, but if it ever goes on sale or whatever, just for the comfort of being able to sit in the living room. But all the Xbox shit has also got me reconsidering going, I might just say F it and buy a year of PlayStation Plus. So boys, we might be playing some PlayStation out of pure fucking frustration.
I have a PlayStation.
You do, Rachel. I have to see what games I have that are multiplayer on.
I don't have any.
They're doing a sale on their PlayStation stuff due to the anniversary right now.
Oh, nice. So we'll have to look
You
into
can
that.
sign up for less.
Yeah.
Sony's actually, I've noticed that lately. Sony on their store, they've actually ran some pretty decent like PlayStation.
Well,
like,
I
store
found
sales.
I found a copy of Zombie Army 4 the other day, but it was PS4, and I was like, well, damn it. Like, they made an Xbox version. I might just have to order it, but if I end up getting PlayStation Plus finally, I might just go pick that up and just be like, all right, screw it, let's play on PlayStation. So who knows? We'll see.
That's why I'll be playing Gears, because I want a physical copy.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that one's gonna be physical. I think it's just a code and a disc again.
The disc is good enough for me.
So
A disc is a disc.
E-disc.
we'll keep this kind of short because I know we've debated about it before, but like in regards to exclusives versus like games going everywhere, I still think exclusives are important for the longevity of a system.
Oh, they are. 100%
But
they are.
for games like Helldivers 2, Sea of Thieves, things that are multiplayer, you want players, they should be fucking everywhere. I
yeah.
agree. Like,
No.
as much of a player base, I still think Sea of Thieves needs to be on Switch too. Like, it should be on Switch too. It would be
Pour that
great.
thing out as much as you can.
I
Right.
think
Everywhere.
I think single player experiences is where we should see exclusivity. But online multiplayer stuff,
Yeah.
throw that thing on everything. Make it crossplay everywhere.
I
Give
have
people
some
plenty of
thoughts on
people
that,
to play with.
Yeah, I have some thoughts on all that, but I'm saving it for the big question.
Okay, yeah, that was kind of. I guess I'm leading that as well. But all right, let's go into our next little bit here.
Now this is interesting.
This was kind of funny. So, Sega of America, Sega Europe CEO Shuji Utsumi recently stated that Sega had no faith in the Switch when it was first announced and launched, and believed the system would fail. So, quote, he said, "Since I was a member of the PlayStation launch team, I have a big attachment to the console business, and Nintendo has been playing an amazing role. Jesus, they made a great contribution to this area. I didn't expect Switch 1 to be that successful. Nobody did."
Okay, pause.
Okay.
Was their faith in Nintendo made like not as much simply because of the Wii U, and that was
Maybe.
that was why
that hurt a lot of relationships.
It did.
Yeah.
I remember when they went out of their way with the original creator to put Yakuza 1 and 2 on Wii U, and they didn't bring it over stateside because it sold like 3-digit copies. Like it sold like 300 copies in Japan, and that's Yakuza.
Yeah, I probably would have played Yakuza more, but yeah, that's still, I get it. But he's not alone, though, as even Pokemon CEO,
Pokemon CEO.
Yeah, Ishishara, believed that the system would be a failure from a Bloomberg 2017 interview, which around the time that the Switch originally launched. He said, quote, "I told Nintendo that Switch wouldn't be a success before it went on sale because I thought that in the age of the smartphone, no one would carry out a game console. It's obvious I was wrong. I came to realize the key to a successful game is quite simple. Software with absolute quality leads sales of hardware." And I thought that was kind of interesting. Just
that is interesting. Given the Switch 2 launch.
Which, yeah, the Switch 2 has already sold. It's broken records for the amount of sales it's crossed, and it's been kind of funny about that. But Switch 1, I get it. Like, everybody had doubts when it first came out. It was a unique-ish idea, ignoring the fact it kind of existed with a particular Sega handheld and the stuff with TurboGrafx being able to switch the games around, but like it had never been done before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's now gone on to be, at the moment, I think it's the second highest game console in history.
Mm-hmm.
Still wondering if it's going to make that last little bit, but our next news might slow that the fuck down.
Well, I have some thoughts on this. So
yeah, but
and the
I don't
reason
know,
why.
It's kind of funny hearing the openness, I think, from some of these groups or some of these CEOs or these developers about, we didn't think the Switch would succeed. And I always enjoy kind of hearing stuff like that, just to get an idea of what it is behind the scenes on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, let's move on to our next little bit here. So, Nintendo is raising the price of the Nintendo Switch, Switch OLED, Switch Lite, physical and digital games, accessories, and Switch Online memberships in Canada starting August 1st, as they said, because of, quote, market conditions from the Canadian Nintendo site. We still have no idea what the exact amounts of each of these will be increasing, but they did point out Switch 2 will not be increasing. So the Switch 2 price is still set.
So it's just in Canada at this point.
At this point, yes, it's just Canada. Right. It's just interesting that it's everything for Switch 1 basically in Canada.
It is directly involved with recent news.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That to me says that, well, there's a variety of reasons that this could happen. And if this happens in other places other than Canada, Europe, even here in the US, whatever, that to me says it's an availability thing, but also it's a surge pricing thing. So to me, that means like, okay, if the Switch 2 is not super available, right? Say it's hard to get. Let's just say that, and it is at this point, it is kind of hard to get.
Nintendo president said not to expect a good amount in Japan until 2026.
Yeah. So it is hard to get. So financially, is it not smart to slightly raise a price of a console that you have a good bit of existing stock on to then get you more money to then possibly help you produce more of the Switch 2?
I don't think Nintendo has to worry about having money.
Right, yeah.
Not that they have any worry about money. but
I think
financially,
this
it's a
is
smart decision, and
this
it's
is
also
the
to cover costs.
if anybody was ever wondering what does Nintendo look like when it's being run by a money guy, now we know.
Yeah,
We've got the answer because this guy was born and bred. He came up through the accounting ranks, and this guy is all about numbers.
Mhm.
And if numbers match what the numbers are supposed to
And I'm,
match,
Sir, what was your
I'm
first
all
game?
here
Donkey
for it.
Kong Jr. Math.
I am all here for it. I'm with them 100%.
I would
yeah.
disagree with that personally.
So I
but-
will. I think it's kind of weird. I don't think tariffs come into play on this because Canada is not subject to those tariffs. That's a United
yeah,
States.
Canada's
thing.
got their own
Canada-
ports. They
Yeah, they have
they
their
can
own
receive.
ports. You
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, their own shipping lanes and everything. So any of those other ones that they're making, even if Nintendo focused on the ones that are made in China that will be subject to the higher tariffs, aren't going to matter. They could just get those because that's like what they were shipping to Japan and other places because it was cheaper for them to sell in those areas. And we got a majority of the ones that were made in Vietnam because that was the lowest or to no tariff for a certain while to the United States. So that kind of became our supply. And they planned ahead on that a little bit because you talk about the money guy, they did kind of plan ahead for this a little bit more than I think they would have in the past,
Mhm.
which can be a good thing sometimes.
Yeah, I'm not
Um,
necessarily saying it's a bad thing. I don't want
well-
to necessarily sound negative towards that.
Oh yeah.
No, I get it. I think it's Nintendo has done pretty good, at least with the recent stuff where, yes, they're being led by a money guy, but he's kind of also still allowing the creators to make the stuff they want while they make the financial decisions and have separated it a little bit where hopefully it's not as bad. I mean, that's the only main company we've seen that has not had major layoffs and stuff like that.
I
There've
can't
been-
even remember the last time that they had a major layoff thing that people absolutely blew up about.
There was people who left due to age.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there was a very small amount of people who left to pursue basically complete creative freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's
because
not,
the thing
that's
about
not layoff,
because you
there's
still
no
have-
drama behind
Still
that.
have what they call the creative fellow who is an actual job title there,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and a technology fellow. So you do have two guys who have tenure to tell you how to change up your games.
Mhm.
Like you have Miyamoto, who thankfully is not touching games anymore,
Yes.
but he's at least giving his input of how maybe you should change something. And then the creative fellow who's worked on everything from the NES is giving his 2 cents, which I'm thankful for.
Mhm.
But after the debacle that is Star Fox and F-Zero, I am more than happy that Miyamoto is more of a can I ask you a question? You know, he's Nintendo GPT instead of like, I'm going to make the game. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
please don't.
Listen, you need like an old wise man, and that's let them have a nap and just talk to them. So
That is
ahead,
kind of
Chase.
an interesting. It's kind of an interesting concept, and sorry, this may be more tailored for the big question, but I just
mhm.
because
No,
we
it's
brought
fine.
it up.
Yeah.
It is kind of interesting because like Microsoft, we were just talking about, you know, how they came out and there was this big deal when they were buying up these studios, and they said we're gonna have a hands off approach. That's what they always kept talking about, was saying we're gonna have a hands off approach. We're gonna let them do what they want, you know, like blah blah blah, all this stuff.
Mhm.
Then you have this stuff come out with like the initiative not taking the initiative,
Right.
where it's like they just kind of plodded along and stuff. and
Nobody
then, like,
cares what we do, but they're going to keep paying us. Great. Let's just go sit down for a while.
right, and assuming that that's what happened, yeah, it's kind of what it sounds like from what I've heard, but assuming that that stuff's true. Then you have Nintendo, who's very hands-on.
Yeah.
Like, they take the completely opposite approach, where it's like, you know, you have poor, is it Anuma, or who was like,
Anuma had all his ideas for a
He-
new game.
he literally
then
came to
said-
him, was like, I have all these great ideas, and they're like, can you just
Yep.
put that in a Zelda game? And that's where the negative of Nintendo kind of comes in, I think, a little bit. There is
Well,
a
they
negative
tend to
side
have the
to that.
history of where they'll design a game and then find an IP that they feel fits on it, which is how we got like Star Fox Adventures, because that was supposed to be Dinosaur Planet originally, you
Mhm.
know, and things like that, where it kind of gets added to it sometimes.
You have to give credit to Nintendo, as some people said, that they let a studio such as Retro Studios work on a game get it completely canceled and given over to Nintendo. Nintendo try to make it and say, we can't make it as good as the other ones, so we're handing it back to Retro Studios. And now Retro Studios comes back and finally gives us Metroid Prime 4 Beyond with no person losing their job.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
also Retro has came out and publicly said that Nintendo is extremely difficult to work with.
It is, but that's the, like you said, they're very hands-on, so they are up their ass about it. But then
So
we also got the Prime games out of that, so it's like,
I'm not arguing with
Oh,
results.
yeah, no,
but
I
I
know.
am saying that Retro did come out and say they're extremely difficult to work with. So like it isn't necessarily all sunshine and flowers either.
yeah,
Well, that one was mainly because that when the stories came out, the director they gave it to originally, out of all the Nintendo directors, that one is described as the Gordon Ramsay of Nintendo.
oh boy,
So that one, a lot of them have gone on saying if you work with that guy who worked on Metroid, you're getting the Gordon Ramsay Nintendo experience.
Oh yeah.
So
That could
that was
what is this? This is shit.
that was an isolated incident, where for game development where they were difficult to work with.
I mean
because that person in particular was very like, he likes to yell.
Nintendo's not the
Wow.
only one though. You want to talk about an IP, you want to talk about a company that's extremely protective of their IP. Let's talk about Games Workshop and Warhammer 40K. Like the
You know more about
Space
this than I
Marine
do, so I'm curious on that.
well the people that worked at Saber with Space
Mhm.
Marine 2, they actually came out and talked about it. Like they said, yeah, it's a great relationship, but it does have its challenges. Because Games Workshop actually came out once when they showed him a design of what Titus looked like.
Mhm.
Whatever, they said, you got the foot armor wrong. You need to change it.
I mean, on the
Like,
flip side, though, like, yeah, it's a pain in the ass, but just like with Metroid, but it is very, very much like that attention to detail is why we have all enjoyed it, and that level of work,
absolutely.
because
100%.
Space Marine 2 has been absolutely insane.
And actually,
So-
Space Marine 2 is an interesting thing because Space Marine 2, arguably, is kind of a recopy of Space Marine 1. Like, if you played Space Marine 1, you'll see a lot of similarities, especially to the campaign of Space Marine 2.
Right.
And so then when I'm thinking of, like, the initiative and, like, Perfect Dark, I'm like, I think a lot of Perfect Dark fans would be happy if you even just made a Perfect Dark and it was kind of just a reskin of the first game, but as long as it was just good, people would be just super happy that the franchise is getting some love.
I think they could have
Space
done
Marine
that
fans
if
were.
Rare, if Rare hadn't already put out the Xbox Live one, maybe they could have done that as like we're going to put this out first and then come with the other one. But like going back with Nintendo, like everything that they work with, like from the movie and everything else, like they're very meticulous with the level of detail of exactly what they want. This color has to be a certain way. This has to be scaled to this size. Like everything is particular. And yeah, it can be nitpicky, but it also has given them a level of quality that I don't know very many other developers over the decades that have matched that, which is why they kind of keep going with it. So you're going to get people rubbed the wrong way with that. I get it. But, it's kind of like the two extremes. They're either going to be all in on it, working with that and doing it, and you get one kind of production out of it. And then you have the other side of it, which I've seen go both ways. The initiative, I know we keep saying because that's the most recent one, but there's been other ones that have turned out great because they could focus themselves to do it. But it's kind of, there needs to be a middle ground to it. I think just letting them do what they want is people are just going to use that and run with it. So who knows?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just thought that was kind of an interesting one with that. So hopefully we'll find out soon what the price difference will be with Canada, how that's going to increase. I'm also curious, like you guys said, are we going to see these in Europe and things like that? That's going to happen in other locations. You guys keep typing stuff and I'm trying to like read it.
Well, maybe Nintendo's being sabotaged.
Oh God. Yeah. I had to laugh at this one. That's why I wanted to bring it up. Because we needed a laugh after today's stuff. So this is our last news story for tonight. So Build a Rocket Boy CEO, who was a previous Rockstar North president, Leslie Benzies, has suggested that their recently released title, Mindseye, is potentially the victim of sabotage by people being paid to talk negatively about their title. Ignore the fact that people were streaming and playing this game and it's broke as shit. And also ignore the fact that Sony, for I think only the second time I remember, other than Cyberpunk's launch, removed the game from sale and refunded people on it. It was so broken, which Sony does not like to do. Sony does not like to do refunds, and they did it again for this. So that has occurred. So Build a Rocket Boy sources told IGN that Benzies finally addressed staff following the release of Mindseye in a brief video call yesterday, July 2nd. According to two people present who asked not to be named in order to protect their careers, Benzies insisted Barb would bounce back and relaunch Mindseye, blaming the studio and the game's struggles on internal and external saboteurs, among other things. So it's not our fault. It's all those people's fault.
So instead
They
of
said
just,
bad words at us.
so instead of just owning up to the poor decisions with, I don't know, development and design and stuff like that, and not taking maybe a little bit longer to fix things and get things running and, you know, working on getting things better now, they place the blame elsewhere. You know what that is? Childish.
So
Yeah, I'm sorry. Who sabotaged it when the wheels don't spin when you drive the cars in the game?
Yeah. I saw one guy's head just kind of come apart while they're standing there, and I was like, what the shit?
And everybody who I watched try to play it, it crashed so many times on PC, they had to buy it on PlayStation.
That's a PS2 level glitch in there, guys.
PS2, most of the shit ran better than this.
Yes, I know, but
It's like-
anytime a PS2 game glitched, you know what it did? The NPCs blew apart. The wheels didn't turn.
That's true. That's very true. So, like, the other example we were given here was Cyberpunk 2077, which was a rough launch for PS4 at the time, Xbox One, and PC. And I think they did turn around. It's an amazing game now, but CD Projekt Red had all of the goodwill from Witcher 3 and their other previous titles that, even though they completely screwed it up, they admitted to it, kind of. Like, they were very cagey about it at first, trying to find other excuses. But they did actually turn around and produce a game that it should have been. And it's been really well done. And we're hoping they've learned their lesson from that, from any future titles they release. But these guys were bragging about Mindseye being like a Grand Theft Auto killer and, you know, this bigger, better game. And it has just, everything I've seen about it's absolutely terrible.
The only games that are killers of other games are ones that are not labeled killers.
Yes, and ones that
Yeah.
don't try to be killers, but then accidentally become some.
Yeah, just make a good game and see what happens. Like, this
Yeah.
was like back when Killzone was like, we're the Halo killer. I'm like, no, you're not.
Like, don't
You can be
don't-
fun, but you're not killing that game.
The best thing for any game developer to do at this point is try not to compare yourself to other things. Obviously, you know, you can have other games as inspiration.
Yes, cite your inspirations for sure,
Yes.
because people love to know where you got this or that, or
but
how you evolved it,
Oh, yeah.
devolved it.
and do your own
um,
thing. You know a great success story of people who did that? Expedition 33.
Yeah, which is now the quintessential JRPG.
Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, I thought it was really funny to see like this level of mess up, and then just pointing the fingers, going, "It's not us, it's Sabotage." People got into it. And I'm like,
Cue the
poor
Beastie
Tony.
Boys.
Sabotage.
yeah, cue the Beastie Boys.
Oh,
Oh
I'm
man.
so sorry that the big bad reviewers and the consumers hurt your feelings with your criticisms. Oh.
Yeah, I haven't watched the Swan. I haven't watched the G-Man Lives video of it yet, but I imagine it's
Oh
gonna
god,
make me
they
laugh.
made one.
Yeah, he made one, and
I also watched another streamer, Moist Critical, play it, and it was
Oh
it was
man.
bad. But you know, no, G-Man Lives one is a really good one for this. But now we'll get to hear about somebody who I call the No Man's Sky of directors.
so he's really good apparently, Jeremy.
Yeah. So okay, so it's an actually fun, creative game that actually does.
So he makes a lot of
build
the
up
same
better
stuff that's just unoriginal and garbage. Okay.
I got
Jesus.
I got one of my new friends, Amadeus. I got him started on Sea of Thieves, and he goes, "I think I'm enjoying this more than No Man's Sky." He's like, "It's relaxing." Actually, now I see that I get stressed out when I play No Man's Sky, and I go, "You want to know why you get stressed out when you play No Man's Sky?" He goes, "Why?" And I go, "Because the great expanse of space is very stressful." and he
I have
goes,
fun with it, trying to survive, exploring, building things. It's
he
been
goes, "You're right.
fun.
There's nothing out there."
Oh, I found all kinds of stuff.
There's
since
plenty
they updated,
of there's
but- yeah.
I
probably
have fun
plenty
too.
That's
out
what I'm
there.
saying.
I have fun too, quitting the game, uninstalling it, playing something else.
Oh my goodness. Moving on.
Oh boy,
No,
the speed
apparently
run.
Steven can't move on. He's just,
Oh boy,
he's
the
Yeah,
locked.
speed
He's
that's
run.
locked up more on this than damn Mindseye has.
All right, fellas.
Yeah.
All right, let's do the speed run right away from Steven's shitty opinions.
Thank you.
So, all right.
I'm
Sadly,
so sad.
yeah, we've had a couple of notable deaths occur this past week.
This one got me.
Julian McMahon, 56. He was Dr. Doom in the Fantastic Four movie. He was also one of the stars of Nip Tuck.
He
Passed away
was
from-
Cole in Charmed.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the hot.
I knew him
demon
from the
dude.
other two. I knew him
The
from
hot
Nip Tuck and
demon
Fantastic
dude?
Four. There you go. But apparently
take
he
your
had
word
been
for it.
fighting cancer and passed away.
I'm so sad. I literally found out about it today.
Well, the last I'd
and-
heard from him, he was talking about wanting to cameo, like as another, like an alternate Doctor Doom in like Fantastic Four or any of the other movies, and I was like, that would be kind of cool just to see him show up.
Well,
but
man, which
can't happen
really
now.
says, he was really fighting hard because, this was
Yeah.
a private fight. Nobody, not only probably a few people knew, much like what happened with Alan Rickman, I imagine. So, man probably fought hard until the end because there's stuff he wanted to do and now he can't. And that sucks. But I
Yep.
was really sad because I grew up watching Charmed, and this is the second Charmed person we've lost in the last I think the last year. And it sucks, and both of them have, I think, died to cancer.
Yep.
Yeah,
Next
they've
up, we
been,
had,
talking about him quite a bit over here, actually,
Yeah.
because he's Aussie boy.
Yeah,
So
he
they've
is.
been
next up we had Michael Madsen, who's 67. We know from Reservoir Dogs, Kill Bill, Donnie Brasco. He's one I've
Grand Theft
watched.
Auto.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto. I've watched him
Mhm.
for a long time. We don't know how he passed away yet. That has not become public. And then lastly was Mark Snow, who was 78. He was the composer of the X-Files theme, as well as Blue Bloods, Smallville,
Oh.
and many more. Like a lot of music people recognize from this guy from a very long career. So
Me hearing the Smallville "Somebody Save Me" in the background right now.
X-Files, like I was a generation of watching X-Files and
hmm
always remember hearing that. Next up, Neil Druckmann has announced he is leaving HBO's The Last of Us as showrunner before season 3 begins production to refocus his work on Naughty Dog and his work writing and directing the upcoming intergalactic The Heretic Prophet, as well as his job as studio head and head of creative.
Welcome back, Neil.
Yeah, so they're probably like, dude, come back to work, please.
Nobody likes
Welcome
you.
back.
Jesus. And then lastly, this one, I just want to get y'all's thoughts on it. AMC has announced that viewers will have to sit through about 25 to 30 minutes of pre-show material, including trailers, but mostly commercials between the published showtime and the actual start of the film now.
So that's pretty much average at this point. That's not really anything new as someone who's seen a good bit of movies in the last year.
That's the perfect amount of trailers, though.
Like the
Yeah,
average,
but mostly not trailers. That's
well,
the thing.
the average pre-show material you see, including commercials and trailers, is between 15 and 20 minutes. It used to be back in the day, it was about 10 to 15, but they've
Right.
slowly been adding stuff to it.
'Cause they're-
I think this is the maximum that they can get, though, without really bothering consumers. But most people will just use this as an excuse to go refill their popcorn or make sure that they've gone pee before the
Yeah.
movie starts.
Because they're talking about this not just like the pre-show stuff, but like if the movie's set to start at 3 when the movie should be starting, that's when this starts. So it's like adding
That's perfect.
time to it. It's
There's
just
nobody.
yeah,
there's
that's
so many
great.
people there are so many people that are never there on time.
Never there on time.
There's always,
That's
there's
fine,
always that
yeah.
one person who arrives late. So for this, it's a blessing.
That's why
You
so
know
glad
what?
of watching
I
movies at
actually
home.
get perturbed. I actually get perturbed if I miss trailers.
Yeah.
So being able to sit through all these commercials, awesome.
Listen, I will say one thing though. I see this shift happening. And was it Wicked that had a technically a intermission? I think they did. It was like a 5-minute. But I can foresee this happening with, you know, more commercials being added. I think some film companies will be like, well, let's just use this as an excuse to make longer movies to make the people that are mad about the commercials and stuff less mad. So let's do that. And then everyone's like, oh, well, now we got to add an intermission. And then now people
If they
who
start
have to
doing
pee,
intermissions again, I'm going to just start. We're just going to move back to just movies at home. I'll just
No,
wait for them to come
I'm
out there.
fine. You want
Screw
to
the
do an
theaters.
What if your
intermission?
movies at home have an intermission, and when you try to press the
I
skip
absolutely.
button,
If
you
I'm
get a
watching
big
a movie,
zero that says you can't skip?
yeah, I hate a movie that just be like you're in the middle of it. All right, we're gonna stop. I'm in the middle of it. You're just completely ripping me out of the movie and watching it.
I mean,
Like-
back in the day when movies had intermission, it was built in and it was done in such a
One
way
movie
where it
I
made
ever
sense.
went to in my entire life ever had an intermission, and that was what was it? Something with wolves.
Gone with,
Dances with Wolves.
I didn't
That's the
obviously
only movie
see
I
this.
ever remember
I didn't
going to a theater. that had an
obviously
intermission.
see this in the theaters when it came out because I was not alive yet. But Gone with
Right.
the Wind had one. A bunch of different like older style
Let's all
movies.
go to the lobby to get ourselves a snack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Don't
just
you want to see them dance?
Mhm.
yeah. When I sit down to watch a movie, I want that whole unbroken story. I want to be able to just
Listen,
enjoy it.
As someone who has a tendency to eat and drink when they
I
are
do.
watching a movie,
Yeah.
sometimes I gotta go pee and I don't want to miss anything. So I'm fine with an intermission. And I'm also
Yeah, or
fine with
sometimes
this.
you eat expired nachos and you need to violently throw up, and you don't want to miss any of the movie.
Oh, I still remember that day.
Oh,
So-
God.
So
yeah.
it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It'll be
Yeah,
okay.
They bring back
PSA,
intermissions.
folks,
I'm done with
nacho
theaters.
cheese should not taste like diapers. The end.
But you know what? You know what I actually like? I like all the trivia before the movies at certain theaters now.
That's fine. Yeah,
That's fun.
That's fun. Yeah.
If anything, I love how Alamo does it because they gear all the pre-stuff to what movie you're watching.
Yeah.
I got a whole history of Shazam before I saw it. So I was
That's
appreciative of that.
That's great.
Nice. All right, so let's go over to the big question for this week. All right, so with the drastic changes that the big three have taken between the previous and current generations of consoles in regards to exclusives, hardware, and more, where do we each feel gaming will go after the Switch 2, PS6, and possible Xbox next generation with regards to hardware, exclusive uniqueness, and more moving forward? Chase, you want to start us off with this?
I actually wanted to hear Swan's point before I.
No, I want to hear yours
Mine.
first, Chase. That's why I was like, no, I'm
Oh.
going to make you do it.
Okay.
We need your actual thought, not your AI take on Stevens.
No, I just sometimes I
I know.
enjoyed hearing other people, but fair enough. So I think that I don't know. I think it's quite interesting because you've got Nintendo who's kind of doing their thing. Like they
Mhm.
were the first of the big three to break away,
Right.
and they kind of went down their path. And they said the whole like what was it, like red ocean, blue ocean thing or
Mhm.
whatever. And now I feel like Microsoft is kind of starting to do the same thing. Like they are saying like we can't compete with Sony on what we don't really feel like we compete with Sony anymore. So now Microsoft's trying their different approach, which is I feel like maybe they feel like they're going back to their strengths, which is software. Like people used to always say like Microsoft isn't a hardware company, they're a software company, things like that.
Oh, I remember when the original Xbox came out that talks about that. Even I was thinking this is bullshit.
Yeah, and I wonder if maybe that's what they're starting to think the same thing too. They're like, we can really do like with the ROG Ally X, for instance, the Xbox ROG Ally X, they're
Mhm.
doing this, like they're working on making this new interface or this new kind of app interface thing that's actually like, and a lot of people are like, yeah, it's pretty good. So, and on top of that, they're working on getting your games to be, like they're doing the Xbox Play Anywhere. So they're trying to get accessibility to the games. They're trying to broaden their accessibility. I think that, and there's talks too. I think, was it Swan? You sent me a post from somebody on Blue Sky the other day about there was, and I think it's a rumor, but potentially Xbox is looking at doing, maybe they're not going to make their consoles. They'll have other OEMs make their consoles. So it's potential that, like they might make a deal with Asus and have Asus make an Xbox. Like, that'd be quite interesting.
What, the old 3DO model where they would have other companies produce them? If I remember correctly, that was the one that did that.
Yeah, the only caveat to that would be is that I wouldn't agree with it if they just like hoard it out to like a bunch of different companies and then there was like 3 different Xboxes in one generation. Because if Microsoft hasn't learned their lesson with the Series X, the Series S thing, like developers don't like building for multiple consoles, and Sony didn't learn the lesson from it either because now they got a Pro, which, but oddly enough, the best game that you can get on a Pro is an Xbox game. So that's really what a time we live in, people.
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. I will throw that quote anytime I can.
Yeah. There's talks about Sony making a handheld. I don't know why. I don't know. Like, I don't see them making a handheld that benefits them. I think that's like having like a Sony Ally X isn't gonna benefit them. Like I just don't think in that sort of set. I mean, maybe and we all know how the Vita went. Like, they didn't want to really support the Vita, even though it was a really good handheld system. Like, I don't know. I'm curious to see what, there's a lot of people that have PS5 Pros now that they're like, they call themselves PS6 beta testers. So I was like, oh yeah, fair enough. That's probably accurate.
I think I heard similar stuff back in the day from like PS4 Pro owners with the PS5. Like, they always, it's a mid step. That's kind of what it is.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, overall, I'm actually quite hopeful and optimistic for the future gaming. I think we're going to get really good stuff. Nintendo's always pumping out good stuff. I don't really know what Sony's doing. And like,
Sony.
Yeah, Sony's doing Sony. And then,
They're busy developing and canceling a lot of live service games.
Yes. And then, yeah, Sony's like a comedy of errors right now sometimes. And Microsoft is, who fucking knows what they're doing? They're off in a completely like different
off
area.
The rocker.
But, I think I like to be optimistic.
Okay.
For the most part.
Nice. All right, Rachel, what about you?
I don't really want to guess where the gaming industry is going to go, because typically when I do that kind of thing, it manifests it. And
you're not a witch. You'll be fine.
Like, I'm just gonna hope that it continues producing the gaming companies I love, continues to produce the games that I love, and that I can still be able to afford the hardware that to play it on. That's where I'm at. I think Switch 2 is in a pretty good place. Nintendo continues to be in a pretty good place. I don't foresee them doing anything crazy, left field, weird that makes me change my entire opinion of them. Sony is almost always on thin ice with me. But as long
That's
as
surprising to hear, actually.
No, they've always been on thin ice. I love Sony, but they're always on thin ice.
I think I'm mostly just laughing because of like our mock debate arguments over the years. It's just kind of been funny with that.
But right now, Sony's doing a whole hell of a lot better than Microsoft is, in my mind, because Microsoft, what the fuck? But
it's not a high bar.
No, it's not a high bar. It really
It's a
isn't
foo
a high
bar.
bar.
That's what it
Yeah.
made me.
Exactly. But as long as I can continue to play the game franchises I love on the consoles that I prefer, I'm happy. I hope that with this with the AI bubble bursting, there might be a little bit more focus on perhaps physical media again in the future. That is my only hope, because owning your games and being able to play them when you want, whenever you want, how you want, and not foreseeing any issues, that is my hope. But I think the only thing I can say is that if what we know now about where Microsoft is heading, I don't know that I'm going to trust whatever they put out next.
I can get that.
It's probably going to have no disk drive. It's probably going to have an AI feature that is like, build your own game and play what you want.
Oof.
Like that's and I hate that I just spoke that into existence, and it'll probably manifest itself now. Sorry, guys.
I think the only thing you would hate worse if like it was a Kindle that just took your books and AI generated covers for them.
Oh, fuck that.
I said it. It'll never happen.
Oh,
It's
fuck
me.
that. I have a whole library of books at my house
know.
that I can read and reread at my distinct pleasure. And yeah, but it's just, I hope that the heads of these companies and the whoever is their future heads of these companies listen to their consumers over their shareholders, because in the past shareholders were the voices of the consumers. That's how it originally started. That was the whole point of a shareholder, was to have a representative of the people who consumed their product. Now it is not that. It is commerce. It is capitalism. It is
Faceless
corporate
people.
greed.
Yep.
And that's where we're at. I do hope that, I will say I don't necessarily have to worry about that with Nintendo. They are very focused on the consumer and guest experience when it comes to their products, when it comes to their games, software, hardware, whatever. They want to know primarily what the people playing their consoles want, and that is what makes them successful and what makes the money guy get more money. So they know that is why they're successful. And yeah, they might do some weird things a little bit, but overall, I don't foresee them doing anything weird. So that is probably the only gaming future I trust most, is actually Nintendo. But they're the king of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So
All right. Steven, what about you? Get ready. Stretch it out.
he's ready.
Yeah, you about to say, you and I are going to have some things.
Okay, so there's an interesting dichotomy going on.
Okay.
And some of it has been consistent with the big three. Some of it changes. Some of it even bites off the other. So I want to start with the fact that, when we talk about layoffs and shareholders and appeasing them, nobody is more transparent than Nintendo.
Oh, they are so honest.
To the point where people get excited when the Nintendo financial briefings come up, because unlike other companies, they post every single question that the shareholders have asked them and give you their response. Thankfully, if you wait long enough, you get the properly translated response.
Yes.
But we've found out everything from their thoughts on key cards and how they're working with those, to even the more interesting part, which ironically came at such a very opportune time with what's happening with Microsoft, because they recently said they're going to explore making games with shorter development cycles to counter the rising development costs. and they're going to decide, and they're also going to invest in their development teams to preserve the way they've traditionally made games. So they're trying to keep their status quo by spending money instead of just making the money. And the fact that they're so open with all these questions from their shareholders is very good. I remember when the fact that when you saw Phil Spencer, that you got excited because you knew he was going to talk about the future of Xbox or hardware, or if he was going to talk about everything as a whole. Same thing when you had certain people from Sony come up that have now left, and we just have kind of Mark Cerny. But they used to have people that when you saw them come up, they were about to drop a bombshell. What's exclusive to Sony? What's coming to them? What changes is the system making in their next update?
Mhm.
When you saw those guys come up on stage, you were like, yes, whatever he says is going to be great. Now you see with this next generation, you see that it's important to who your friends are. And what's interesting is out of all the creator voices that Nintendo had, their last one was all about NVIDIA, to the point where they had the CEO kind of talk up the Switch 2 and everything that they had worked and put into the system to get you more excited for the system, which I think was a good play because they were focusing on what they were proud of, not just a bunch of buzzwords and keywords.
Right.
And off of the back of that, we now have both Sony and Microsoft entering partnerships with AMD, the direct competitors of NVIDIA. So it's very funny that, sometimes the more things change, the more things remain the same here. And, overall, it's interesting to see how things are going. The way I see it right now is Xbox wants to be in all your homes. They're on your TVs. This is an Xbox, so they want everything to run their system, to run their launchers, because they just want to be everywhere. And if that's their goal, I don't like how they're going about it with how they're cutting corners and saving money. But I almost feel like they're still going to make a console, but it's going to be an afterthought. Like, it's going to be super powerful, but it's going to be like those Steam machines where you can't upgrade it, but right off the bat, it is super powerful, at least for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're going to embrace that. I don't think they're going to do a two-system life cycle again. I think they're just going to make one super powerful system and be like, buy it if you want. If not, don't.
Play it on your TV.
I feel PlayStation is heading towards being very digital. I'm not liking the fact that they're throwing way too many darts at having just like a live gaming all the time. Like, everything's just live,
Mm-hmm.
to the point where it's failing so many times.
I think that'll be a bubble that bursts too. I hope.
Right.
But where I will give them credit is in the world of Virtuos and Panic Button. PlayStation did the smart thing to buy Blue Point Games when they saw the quality of work that they did in all their HD collections in Demon's Souls for PS5, which people said was like the perfect launch game for their PS5 because it did show what their systems could do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, while I think Nintendo's riding a good wave right now, there is issues. I follow a few developers of the indie games, and it seems like indies are locked to Switch 1 right now because game key cards are actually impossible for most indie developers to make money. There's been tons of different videos that kind of explain the costs, and even trying to make a game like only $40, they would still make no revenue as an indie developer. And these are ones that made games that I thought were really good, because I'm recently following Calcat Games, which made Brock the Investigator,
Mm-hmm.
which is like a beat 'em up point and click adventure. Nice
Oh,
nice
the
mix.
alligator one, yes.
A nice mix, because there's a few games that are coming out like that now. And he says, as a publisher developer myself, I can confirm we would make almost zero revenue on a €40 retail price if the cartridge price indicated is right. And he said, right now, the big mistake Nintendo is making, he's saying, is by forcing everyone right now to use their expensive high-speed cartridges. But he's like, but maybe it was intentional, depending on what the developers liked. Because the exception is the Switch 2 editions, because they can have a Switch 1 cartridge painted in red, and kind of you still get a physical game. And a lot of that is they should kind of allow the publishers to use the Switch 1 cartridges, and just have that extra installation like they do for upgrade packs.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the easiest,
Mhm.
because a lot of people see that unless you're buying directly from them, all those companies that have come out of the woodwork, like Red Art Games and especially Limited Run Games,
Mhm.
you're not going to see Switch 2 editions of indie darlings. You're only going to see ones that are super popular, so they can charge you more money, so that they can be complete on cart. Because game key cards won't work at a good price.
Yep.
Right.
So the hurdle they need to come get over right now is get out dev kits to more people. Like, I know the system itself is hard to get, but when even the creators of Marvel Rivals went on and said we're itching to put Marvel Rivals on Switch 2, but they need to give us a dev kit because they still don't have one. That's
I
what
guess
I
they
call
just don't have enough like stuff
Yeah,
to get these people
but
dev kits.
haven't-
That's
but
that's fascinating.
but what I thought was weird was, like, as a shareholder, I'd be asking, like, how is the dev kit situation? Are they going out to enough companies to create a steady flow of releases over this life cycle now?
Yeah.
Because you're on a great start, and many people, including Virtuos, just said, I think it's going to overcome the Switch 1 in its lifetime, because of how the power is used. Because we're finding out that people who made Switch 1 games put all the game on the GPU and didn't use the CPU at all. So now when it runs on Switch 2, suddenly they have all this space to optimize the game. So some Switch 1 players or Switch 1 developers are like, holy cow, I can breathe new life into my game. But for indies, some of those can't run better. If you already have a sprite-based game, it can't run that much better,
Right.
and it can't look that much better.
No.
So I think right now, while we're excited because we're seeing games that would never be on Nintendo come to Nintendo, like Madden finally after all these years, and Cyberpunk, I think they have a hurdle now where they need to get people over the game keycard situation. They need to have smaller sizes and make things cheaper, in order to really blow up and become like the system for third parties.
I
So
think they will. I just don't think that the what is
Card
it?
makers.
The parts are not there yet. I don't think the parts are
Yeah, I
available
think
yet.
the hardware is not there yet. I think their biggest problem they need to get over with right now is that a lot of people will put tons of stuff digitally on Switch because it's really easy to,
Mhm.
but we're not going to see a lot of Switch 2 things because having Switch 1 games just run better is like a godsend for a lot of people. So
Yeah.
that's spearheading a lot of people saying, why should I make a Switch 2 version right now? Or I can just say it's for the Switch 2 because it runs. So it's stuff like that,
Or just stay compatible with Switch 2. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
people complained about the internet only and all the installations and disk installers on Xbox and PlayStation, but they eventually just forgot.
Yeah.
And people are still waiting for official sales numbers, but people are thinking that people will eventually just forget about game key cards being like vitriolic in terms of people collecting, and eventually just go by the wayside as more and more options come out.
Yeah.
That people will still use them, and for some people it's like the death knell to them, but we don't know if it's the death knell. We don't know if the average consumer cares, because right now, as disgusting as it is, like Split Fiction has 2 spots on Target's wall, one for the digital code and one for the code in the box, and I hate that.
Yeah.
But as a developer, I'd be like, cool, I get 2 spots on the wall when Mario Kart, not Mario Kart, when some other game gets 1 because it doesn't have a digital code version.
Yep. All right. So for me, I'm going to kind of break this into the 3 themselves and going to talk about it. So I'll start with Nintendo because that's the one I'm most hopeful for. The Switch 2, as we've said before, is off to a great start, but they need the development time to get people to make more games for it. But I kind of feel they're going to be the last bastion of at least some kind of physical release. Yeah, key cards and stuff like that people get upset about, but this is right now, I think I think maybe they did release it on PS5, but like Cyberpunk 2077, the most up-to-date version with all the DLC included is only on a Switch 2 for that physical copy. We can still get Mario Kart, pre-updates as it was at launch, still playable on a cartridge. And there's going to be other games coming out that do similar stuff. And for as long as they can hold out, I think Nintendo's going to do that because they've always been, at their heart, a toy company. They believe in that physical piece that people can get and holding on to that. Go ahead, Steven.
I just wanted to add a little aside
Oh.
to what you said there. PlayStation actually has it in their agreements that if you make an update to a game, they will not put it fully on disc ever. They will only give it as a code, like their Cyberpunk Complete Edition. Xbox does not have that in their contract, so Xbox's is also complete on disc for some reason.
Yeah, for the rare times we actually get to it, which I was going to get to that as well.
When we
Yeah,
get
go
a
on.
disc.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing that Nintendo has learned that I'm kind of hoping that maybe Sony and Microsoft will finally see this is to stop the race. Because right now, I think the favorite example I've seen of that is they showed a model of a bust of Mozart. And they show how it is with this many polygons. And then it's like, here is, made with 60, 600. And then they have like 6,000 polygons and it's looking really nice. And then they have 60,000 polygons and it's barely any different. The level of detail has become so finite that if you're just looking at it, most people can't even tell. And what's really blown my mind with that is like I'm playing Cyberpunk 2077 on my Switch 2. I have it on my Series X. I've played it on PC on high-end computers. Yeah, there's a little bit of a visual detail, but it has not stopped me whatsoever from enjoying that game on my TV and being portable and running around. And they've kind of learned, like, look, power is going to plateau at a point. You can use it to try and make new like different types of games and expand things like that. But this run to make everything as absolutely detailed and ridiculous as possible is just a race to blow up the cost of your games. Look at how much time people have spent already just playing Mario Kart World or other Mario Kart games versus Forza or Gran Turismo and stuff like that. Like, yeah, they're popular, but I guarantee people have spent way more time in that game playing Mario Kart as a series than any of the other ones combined. And that's not because it's necessarily a better game, but it is playing on the strengths of what it is, which Nintendo's learned when they first did it with the Wii. People mocked them about that, going, oh, well, that's never going to work. You're a generation behind now. They just refined what they had in the GameCube, but it became one of the highest selling consoles and kind of set them on that path. Yeah, it flopped with the Wii U. That was a whole marketing thing. I still enjoyed it, but they straightened their shit out with the Switch and tried something different and kind of went from there. I kind of hope like Sony and Microsoft would eventually see that and maybe do something similar. I would hope that a PS6 does not have to be some attempt to make a drastic, huge upgrade, because a lot of people are seeing like PlayStation 5 Pro versus PlayStation 5. And other than a little bit of frame rate stuff and maybe some background details, like when you're having to zoom in on Sony's own thing, going, look, you can see these little characters in the background of Ratchet and Clank, you kind of lost the plot. Like, it's not making the game more fun. You're getting little details that a lot of people or normal consumers may not even notice. Mm-hmm. And I get it. They're nice. I get it. I enjoy those little details a lot. But it has not stopped me from enjoying my PS5 versus getting a PS5 Pro. It's kind of actually held me off from worrying about it because that big difference isn't there. Like, it was a noticeable difference for PS4 to PS4 Pro or Xbox One to Series X. Dear God, that was a big jump. Like, you notice that difference. And I think that was the last time that could happen without going to a whole different way of doing graphics. So my worry with PlayStation 6 is I think they're going to be moving away from physical media. We've already seen it with the PS5, where now you can have options of not even having a disk drive. Like day one, they had that option of it not even being there, which was a first from a day one launch on those regards. Microsoft is moving in that direction a lot in regards to just not even producing the damn discs. Like we talked, you mentioned earlier, Stephen, that, they can have games that are complete on there. I have The Witcher 3, the Series X edition, which is absolutely complete. Everything is there. And that is such a rarity because the disc is actually included. Most of Microsoft's games coming out, regardless of hardware, doesn't even have a disc. It's digital only, and that's it. Which is actually making that even worse because they're pushing this play anywhere thing where I can play it on PC or whatever. But with the disc, you can't even do that. Like I own Call of Duty 6 on disc, air quotes. But if I just bought it digitally, I would have paid exactly the same thing, and I could have played it on PC, no problem as well. So I kind of got punished for doing that. I can't like put the disc into anything and have it recognize it for all their, connection to that. So Microsoft is going to be pushing away from that. And I think we're going to see an end of hardware. I don't think we're going to see an end of the separate hardware that they make. Because like the example you gave, Chase, about, the Ally X already has a normal Ally weaker version that comes with it. It's already going to play games differently. Like even then they're already announcing 2 variations with different strengths on it. And I don't think it's as big a deal because you've got Switch 2 and other hardware that kind of benefits, like you get a ripple effect of how that works. Like PS4 development will probably still continue because Switch 2 can still benefit the PS4 development versus the Series S. And that's kind of my worry. PlayStation and Xbox are going to become so homogenous with crossing games back and forth, their hardware being almost fully exchangeable to the basics of it. The type of RAM, the processor, stuff like that. There are so little of a difference that we're losing what gaming used to be. The Super Nintendo and the Genesis were very different. They had similar games, but they were very different and had those feels to them. And I think we're losing that. Except, it's going to become Xbox and PlayStation versus Nintendo for what you're playing.
Isn't that what we had though for like the last generation or two?
Well, like Xbox 360 and PS3 had very core differences to each other. Sony was trying with the cell processor. Microsoft was focusing more on still playing from disk and the faster loading. It kind of went back and forth. PS4 and Xbox One still had differences and benefits to each other. Sony did make a better system for that, for the PS4. It was loading better and kind of went with that. Microsoft learned that lesson. And like, as the generations went, they became more and more similar. So we were talking about earlier, like AMD's now making both the graphics chips for the PS5 and, whatever next Xbox is. And it's like, it's becoming spec wise almost the same thing. Which I think is part of what led to like all the Xbox games coming to PlayStation. And we're going to start seeing, I think, more PlayStation games coming to Xbox. I don't think, Helldivers is going to be the only one. I don't know what other titles may be there. I could see Disney pushing for Spider-Man to get released, at least the first one, maybe eventually. Same reason people are like, well, Blade, if it ever gets made, is going to have to go to PlayStation. Disney's got that push. They could make Spider-Man and Wolverine maybe go to Xbox as well, just to get more players, however they do it. So that's kind of how I feel it's going to be. Nintendo is going to be the only one that has exclusives, like really give a damn exclusives for stuff, both for whatever they're making, good or bad. And we're just going to have to kind of see where it goes from there on physical media in general. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that we're necessarily going to have I'm curious to see who's going to be writing this, but
I'm afraid.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
no point, not entirely.
I stopped fearing about stuff because I was just like, oh, it is what it is. Like, yeah, exactly. But I think what Microsoft's trying to do, I think they're not going to be as homogenous maybe as what we think with PlayStation. Like, I honestly kind of thought that PS4 and Xbox One were pretty homogenous. Like
they were getting closer, yeah.
They were.
And Nintendo was the only one that was really like said, okay, yeah, bugger this. We can't we can't keep going on the same path with them. We're gonna do our thing. The Wii thing was actually funny that you mentioned that, because you know who did see that it was going to be successful was Peter Moore, because I remember that interview with Peter Moore where he said, "Thanks Sony for making your pricing your system unrealistic." He said everybody's going to buy a Wii for fun and an Xbox 360 for all their competitive games, and he was right.
Yeah.
So
I
that
also
was
remember the guy who basically invented the Wiimote got turned down by both Microsoft and Sony, saying we don't want that crap.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that happens a lot in the industry. I mean, because like I kind of worry. The other thing, I guess, is
There's
Nintendo's the
been quite
last
a
bastion of trying new shit, I think. But go ahead, Chase. What were you gonna say?
No, I was going to say that actually, I think Microsoft, there's been quite a few times where Microsoft's forced changes on the industry for better or for
Mhm.
worse. And like they, because like you had the whole, because kind of with HD gaming,
Mm-hmm.
they drug Sony kicking and screaming and said, "You're coming with us or you're falling behind, one of the two." And online gaming, they were big, they made kind of the
Yeah.
big push for that. And that was another one. They drug Sony and kind of and eventually Nintendo kicking and screaming along with them, said like, "This is the future, this is where it's going." Crossplay, they made the big push for crossplay, and
Yeah.
Sony didn't want anything to do with it. And then after a while, everybody kind of just like pressured Sony into, "Come on guys, you really kind of need to do this. This
It's
is
like they sighed and
a
went,
good thing."
fine.
Yeah, Sony finally caved. And I mean,
Play with the other kids. You'll
Sony
get
did
more
the
people
Apple
playing
thing
it.
though, where they were like, "Okay, that's fine, we'll do it, but it's always available to turn off on PlayStation games," type thing. Like they had to have some victory in that in the
Right.
okay, fine. So Microsoft has done some things like that where they've pushed changes in the industry, and
Yeah.
in that regard. So
I
I'm
just
curious to see what they do.
because like talking about like innovations and things, like I liked when the companies would try different things.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, love it or hate it, Connect was awesome. Like it when it worked really well. I know you had to have a specific amount of space and things like that, but the way some of the games would work and so forth was really cool. And then, it had uses outside of that where people were using it on PC and trying other different stuff. And it was something innovative to do. And I think, Sony, for their credit, the controllers may not have worked as well, but the Move controllers were really accurate from actual 3D space and movement. They could have optimized those better and done, made them more functional controllers. But that was a good innovation on trying that. But like, all right, we're going to have this camera tracking these 2 points with the ball at the end, changing colors. Yeah, we laughed, but it worked. Light gun games with that worked really well. Like, that was a good competition to the Wii. So they were forced to actually innovate and work together on, compete with each other and make their stuff better. My worry is Sony and Microsoft, they become so similar. They're just going to be making the same set of things for basically the same set of hardware and just going, do you want it on box A or box B? We're not even going to put a label on it. You just got to pick and buy it. And at that point, you do have the argument, why don't you just make a PC then? Just put it on Steam and be done with it because you're not doing anything different. Because that's the argument I hear all the time from people. Oh, I don't want to get a PS5 or I don't want to get a Series X because I already have a PC. Well, cool. It's kind of harder to make that with the Switch too. Yeah, you have more graphical power, but that ability to pick it up and run off or do stuff or have 2 mice or, do different things is unique to it. It's still doing something different that makes it worth having. And I don't want.
I don't know
Go ahead.
if I don't know of many games on the PC front that try to use 2 mice at the same time,
Yeah.
or that can.
Yeah, most systems won't even let you do that.
Mhm.
And that's what I like is when they would try these different things. I don't want to lose that for both, because I think Sony and Microsoft are needed because they made each other better. We always, we have the arguments, Rachel, I know you and I over the years have had hilarious back and forth with Xbox and PlayStation and stuff like that. And we poke fun at each other, but I think we can both agree they made each other better because they had to.
Mhm.
Oh,
Every
yeah,
time they had it up or down.
competitions.
Yeah.
Competition's
It's
always
good
a
to
good
have.
thing.
It is good to have competition. it is good to have people doing different things, because then there's more room for advancement. Then they give each other ideas to grow, whether or not they intend to or not.
Yeah.
But if you have all of them doing the same thing, then that's not healthy. If you have just one, that's also not healthy.
No, it's not. Go ahead, Chase.
So the one that I kind of want to come back to is your point
Yeah.
about the Move controller and things like that, because it's kind of, I think the problem that maybe Sony and Microsoft had with like the Move controller, the Kinect, things like that, was the problem that Microsoft maybe didn't have this problem as much with the Kinect,
Mm-hmm.
but definitely I think Sony had with, say, like the Move controllers and other stuff. And you could even argue that Nintendo actually has that issue to a point as well. When you try these new things, like say the Move controllers, the Kinects and things, not a lot of developers actually develop for these things. Third-party developers don't really want to try to add these new features into their games. And a lot of times it's up to first-party developers to actually like develop a game that takes full advantage. Because like when you get a first-party developer develops a game that takes full advantage of a feature that they have, it's awesome, and you're like, man, think of the possibilities that we could have with some of these other games, like, and stuff. And then like it doesn't actually the developers, these third-party developers, don't want to take advantage of it because they don't want to put the extra time into taking advantage of it. And I think that's something that's kind of unfortunately maybe hurt the industry a little bit.
I don't think it's really hurt the industry. It's a general rule. I understand that completely, because what launches with a system day one is the core group of what you're going to have most of the time. Original PlayStation, most developers did not support the dual stick because that wasn't the standard controller that they came with for years. So, sometimes they would. Capcom released a special version of Resident Evil 2 that actually used it for the DualShock, which had the two sticks and the rumble. But most of them didn't. They were relying on the digital D-pad for 3D games and everything. So very rarely when a company makes a later thing does it get supported. Sony, on the flip side, did get good support out of the DualShock 3, which was not originally there because they finally brought back Rumble and improved it. But the DualSense itself, or the move, the part, the motion part of the controllers didn't get used as much. There's a couple games, but even they kind of weeded it out. So it's back and forth. But like the move controllers themselves, sure, they didn't have a ton of support. They did have some good ones from first and third, but they became a key part of the PlayStation VR. Like when that first came out, it became the standard controller for a lot of games that worked great. So like they found a use for it. Kinect
VR is another one too.
Actually. Yeah, and that's being an add-on kind of already makes it a little rough. And I think Sony handled it really well with the PSVR, and then I feel kind of botched it with PSVR 2 in a couple different ways, but that's a whole different discussion.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you're making a game for VR, it's going to have to be VR. It's not like it's going to be normally compatible on a console or something without it, because you kind of need that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't have a Meta Quest called the Xbox Edition when it doesn't work with your Xbox.
Yeah, that's so stupid. So fucking stupid.
Really dumb.
But like with Switch 2, I think we're going to see more developers support the mouse, because every Switch 2 came with a mouse, 2 mice. They're there. Even if they just use one for standard controls and they can bring it over, it'll be there.
I want to know when they get a dev kit, how hard it is to backwards compatible it with the mouse, because what I forgot to mention from the beginning when we were saying what we've been doing, that same video also said that House of the Dead Remake runs really well with the improved gyroscope on the Switch Pro controllers.
Yeah.
And they were really loving it, and they didn't mention it, but for me, I was just like, I hope there's a way to go back and add mouse support. And if it means a Switch 2 edition like Civilization, okay.
I think that's probably what it would be.
I'll pay for mouse support. As bad as that sounds, because it creates a new thing where we pay for a control scheme. I don't care if it makes the game that much better.
Yeah. I mean, I would love a Monkey Island
Like,
collection.
Yeah.
Indie devs, I will pay $1 to $5 more for your games if you have a mouse compatibility pack, so I can play your point and clicks
Yes,
with
absolutely.
a mouse.
So, Chase, I think to get back to the other part of that, when they try out new things, yeah, not everyone's going to do that, but sometimes you get a hit that becomes a standard for a lot of stuff. The N64, came out with Rumble as an add-on Rumble pack that became very well used and very popular with stuff, which ended up leading to more companies using force feedback, which has become a standard now. We have variations on it, HD Rumble, HD Rumble 2, the trigger, force feedback triggers, or the DualSense, I can't remember exactly what they call it, but like the haptic triggers, different variations on that. I think support for those will kind of vary, but we still need those innovations because technically, if people argued that any change was different, we'd still be using an Atari stick with one button because everything was a difference between that. But I think we have definitely talked in this one for a while, and we're about to hit the 3-hour mark as Rachel is putting messages that she's sleepy and Steven is saying he is bashful. I guess I'm grumpy, and then Chase, sorry, you're dopey. With love, though. It's fine. Dopey's great. Everybody loves Dopey.
I hate Dopey. Dopey's
Actually,
like
I
the
think
No Man's
Chris
Sky
would
of the
be.
dwarf.
I think Chris should be bashful because he doesn't show his face now.
Aww.
True.
So Steven's Doc? I don't know. I don't know. It just reminds me of Doc. I don't know. All right. So let's close this down then. All right. Well, this has been a hell of an episode for almost exactly 3 hours. We've talked for a little while.
It's the extended edition.
Oh, I think I'm just going to end up calling this one "Giving Xbox a Bunch of Crap."
Stay tuned for the intermission.
That one episode where we all shit on Xbox.
Yeah, Xbox has it coming.
This is the EX / box episode.
Oh God. All right. So you can find the podcast in audio form wherever you listen to your shows, and the video version over on YouTube at our channel Zenspath COM or Zenspath.com. Both can easily be found over at zenspath.com/podcast. I've taken Steven's advice and updated that page to now properly show more of our videos, and it links from the main page of just zenspath.com. So thanks for that. Leave us a review if you can to help us grow, like and share the show with others. Leave us a comment on YouTube to tell us how you feel about the show and maybe answer the big question yourself. What do you think the future of gaming is going to look like with this upcoming generation of systems and beyond? And then you can talk to us directly over at Discord as the easiest way to find us and chat with the latest news and happenings over at bit.ly/Zenspath Discord, which if you're watching the video version, it should be on the screen below. Or you can go to zenspath.com and find our link to our Discord and everything else there as well. All right. Well, I've been your host, Jeremy Powers, joined once again by Steven, Rachel, and Chase for episode 178. And we're out. Peace.
Sabotage.
Sorry, guys. You're all laid off.